Hold on. I'm clicking on go live. Jeb, whether that's you snoring or your kitten purring, can you just stop?
We'll never know.
I don't really care, to be honest. Um, all right. Have I gone? No, we're still unlisted. Oh no. Hold on. Public.
Time to finger the cat's ear.
Why, Jeb? Just why? Poor cat. You're hearing animal abuse right here live on stream. Also, hello everyone. Yeah, now ever since Madvika pointed out that I keep saying hello everyone, yeah, it has become a thing that I will do constantly. Because I'm now hyper aware of it. So oh well. But yeah, we're live. Hey. Hey Eric's. How you doing? Uh is it Eric's? I hope it is. Um but yeah, today we're gonna be talking about The Batman, which is a film.
Don't headbutt me, cat. Crack your skull.
Sure, Jesus Christ. Which is a film that we all really like. I imagine Tin is the one that likes it the most out of us, but that's just a guess, a theory, a film theory.
Just a minor guess. Just a
Yeah.
bit.
Hey, at least you went back to Battinson.
Yeah, because I only ever use it for that one stream where I never got to say anything because Jeb, Brit, and CV kept on interrupting us, and I couldn't join the next one because I was sick. So I only ever used it once.
Really?
Was that the Zack Snyder?
Didn't you
Was that
use
the
it?
Zack Snyder jokes?
Didn't you use it around that time when we were recording Flash? Because I remember that profile picture.
Oh yeah, I meant sort of on like actual Batman related stuff.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, because everything else I just sort of kept it because I know it's cool or something. I know.
That's fair. Yeah. So anyway, few things should get out of the way first. I completely forgot the things that I was gonna mention. So let me just wing it, I guess. Oh yeah. So hey, hi, me, Sky. Have started making videos for Zach's channel. You know, the Thought Theater, because I partnered up with him to do that. So if you want to check that out, that channel's in the description, and I've already made a video there. And if you want to watch a video next week about community, that just subscribe. So yeah, fun times. I think it was all I actually had to say before the stream started. So I guess we can start with the recommendation corner. Do you have anything to say, Tin? I asked Jeb. Be specific.
Wait, so me first? Okay.
Yeah,
because
usually we don't do, you know, from left to right. It's a very different way to do it today, yes, Tin.
Well, I haven't been watching much because I've just been very I've been very sort of slumpy as of late. But
fuck you.
A couple of days ago, I watched the first couple of episodes of The Crown, I guess, because of, you can guess the reason why. And I'm no royalist or monarchist. They can all get stuffed as much as the next guy, but the show isn't half bad for the first couple episodes. It's a slow burn. Plus, it has Matt Smith in it, and I need my Matt Smith dose until the next episode of House of the Dragon. And he's great in it, as usual, so...
he leaves after season... He leaves after season 2.
And then fucking Ed Tully from Game of Thrones takes over, which... Actually, from what I've seen, pretty good casting, so... Yeah.
Yeah, he's good.
I guess I'd recommend that if you want to know about how the Queen's origin story happened. Until
the Queen's origin story.
Until the eventful end-game event where they kill her off.
The portal scene when they bring her back from hell to fight King. What's the king's name? Is it Andrew? I forget.
I was gonna say, I'm imagining a scene where Andrew just walks through a portal. But yeah, that's my recommendation. The first episodes of The Crown, I've yet to... It's a good start so far, yeah.
Sorry.
I don't forgive you, Jeb. But yeah, Jeb, do you have anything you want to say for the recommendation corner?
See, I'm doing the smarty pants. I will recommend something that isn't out yet, but
What?
will be very shortly.
Oh, okay. I know what it is.
Yeah. Whilst it's not out yet, I'd recommend everyone to see it once it is, and that is Fort's short film called Trespassers. Um, you watched it, was it Sunday?
Uh, it was
Monday?
Saturday.
Saturday? Yeah, it was Saturday. And I was very, very impressed by it. You wouldn't think it's, as I said at the time, what's the word? What's the word?
Amateur.
Directorial debut,
Oh,
or an amateur film for that matter. You wouldn't think either of those things. And he absolutely nails it. And I think Fort has a really bright future as a director. And the only flaw I mentioned at the time wasn't of his doing. It was just some of the lines by the main actor was a bit iffy, but overall he's good. Yeah, I'd highly recommend it. I have it as a 9 out of 10. It
yeah.
delivers a lot of emotion and character in a very short time span it has.
I thought Jeb was gonna recommend Sonic Frontiers for a second. That would have been in character too,
No,
to be
no.
fair.
No, I was tempted, but I was like, no, I've got to give my props to Fort and recommend his film.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like that'd be really unfair if I didn't, given I have it as a 9. So yeah, watch Trespassers when it comes out. You won't be disappointed,
Yeah, it's
especially if
releasing
you've
on
pledged to it.
September 29th. So yeah,
Yes.
stay tuned for that. Yeah, I've seen that film a gazillion times because, well, Zach has showed me every step of the process, and it is a really fantastic film. And there are quite a few things in the film that happened because of my input. So maybe you could say that it's my film. No, I'm kidding. It's not. I made like 2 suggestions that basically made it to the final cut. But anyway, it just real quick because Eric's sent a super chat saying hello, beautiful people, and Jab yuck. I agree with that statement. Loving your work, but can't stay tonight. We'll catch up on the VOD, find out what more you want from the Batman Chew. Peace. Well, thank you very much for the super chat, and yeah, no worries about not being able to watch live. There's always the VOD, but yeah, it's trespassing time. That line is indeed said in the film. I can assure you. Oh shit, it's my turn for the recommendation corner. I'm kind of out of it. Sorry. Uh, hmm. I've been watching a few things because I'm always watching stuff. It's just how I am. Uh, Let me think. I watched a show called Everything Sucks that I quite liked. It's only 1 season. It was canceled, I think, after 1 season and on Netflix. I think it was canceled because the ending was definitely leaving it open for a second season. So don't think it was a limited series. But it is a really good show. It's like these characters in school in the 90s. It's trying to I guess figure themselves out. Especially being in the 90s, you have this one of the main characters. She's a lesbian and she's like figuring out she's a lesbian, and she's like 14, and she's bullied for it and shit like that. Which is yeah, it's pretty neat story. There's also the main character, like, whose dad left him, and so like him dealing with basically being on his own because his mom works as like a fucking flight attendant, and so she's barely ever home, so he's basically had to grow up like by himself, but he's like 14 as well. It's a pretty neat show. The only thing that I find weird is Sydney Sweeney being 20 when she shot that show, and then kissing the actress was 14 at the time. But hey, other than that, it is a really good show. So
Complaining about pedophilia.
she also kissed McQuaid's actor who was 15. That was also weird. But anyway, it is a good show. I recommend it. Other than that one weird aspect about it. And yeah, Zod, what do you have to recommend?
I've not really watched much, but I have played a game, Ghost of Tsushima, so I'll go with that. I've been replaying it because I've not touched it for a while, but I think one of the things I like the most about it is just sort of how it balances, like going for that sort of more cinematic sort of experience while still, like being a game that has gameplay, because some games just struggle with that for some reason. But it's just one. They're very willing to sort of sacrifice more sort of realism in terms of, well, yeah, in order to have better gameplay mechanics, and it just comes together to make for like a great experience. It's also quite clever in terms of how it does certain things as well, like when you leave a marker on the map or something, instead of having a GPS waypoint, it directs you there through the environment by using like the wind as a sort of direction, and that's very clever. I like that. And yeah, it's also just got a fantastic story with some really neat characters, and I've been playing it using a visual mode, a Kurosawa mode, which sort of makes everything all black and white and grainy to make it more aesthetically similar to the old Kurosawa films, because that's where the game gets most of its inspiration from. So yeah, I've been liking that quite a lot. It's whichever, if you have it with that or just with normal colors, it just looks spectacular. So yeah, I recommend that quite a lot. It's a very good game.
Yeah, I've played it for like an hour. But I do need to finish it. But yeah, no. Oh, visually the game is great, and that's all I can say because I haven't paid that much attention to it other than that. But yeah. Well, I think that was all we had to do before we started covering the video that we're gonna cover. So yeah, today we're gonna be talking about The Batman, which is a film that few people might have seen, might have heard about. And good old Nando V Movies, which we've covered a few times, he made a video for his pitch for The Batman 2. And this isn't like us trying to like tear down his pitch or anything like that. Just kind of curious to see what he has to say. It'll be good to think about what his pitch for The Batman 2 will be compared to what we want to see. And maybe that has some good ideas, maybe he doesn't. His what if pitch for the finale wasn't the best. So, who knows how this will go. But yeah, I guess we are all in the watch together, so we can just get started.
Hello, whoever's currently in charge of Warner Brothers. I am Nando, the YouTuber who secretly writes all the Marvel movies. I'm sure you've seen the news. Got a lot of cool things that we announced at Comic-Con. MODOK is going to be the villain of Ant-Man 3. War Machine...
Wait, what? Wait, how old is this? Because he isn't going to be the villain of Ant-Man 3, is he? It's going to be Kang.
I think this was probably right after Comic-Con, I think. So maybe like June-ish, I think.
But was he going to be the villain of Ant-Man 3?
I think he was like rumored to be one at some point, and he was confirmed to be involved. But wasn't Kang like confirmed?
Yeah, I thought
Like,
Kang was going to be like
Kang
the
was
actual
confirmed.
villain. Kang being in the
Kang
film
was
we've known
confirmed.
for ages, it being the villain. Yeah, because even the trailer that they showed on Comic-Con, which obviously leaked because they showed a trailer, it shows Kang. It doesn't show MODOK at any point, unless that's a red herring. But it kind of be weird to have a red herring to be like, oh, this is the biggest threat in the entire universe of the MCU, and then it would just have it be MODOK. It would be a character for the MCU to do that. To be fair,
MODOK appeared in a trailer that was at the D23. He's leader of the quantum realm, apparently.
Oh, okay.
What?
I didn't
So
know
I
that.
think he's Yellow Jacket.
I think they were sort of confirmed that it's going to be. I'm not sure if it's the same actor, but it's sort of rumored that it's going to be the same character. That he just got shrunk down and crushed and then became MODOK somehow.
As in the Yellow Jacket from the first film? Darren Cross?
Yeah.
Apparently, that he got crushed in his suit and somehow his head got really big.
What? That
Like,
No, surely not though. That doesn't make any sense.
yeah, I know, right? Like,
A
you
Marvel
see him
film
get
not
completely
making
mangled.
sense.
And
Like, you see his arm get
Ed
caved
Man
in.
destroyed his fucking suit. If he comes back, oh, fucking whatever. Who cares? Wasn't invited. ECUM is a joke. Oh, sorry, Madvocate. Maybe next time. So look, if Barry shows up in chat, you can join the call, okay? But only if Barry shows up in chat. It's because Barry thinks Madvocate is a host. He also thinks SK and Ira are hosts, so who knows, to be honest.
Machine is going to be on the Scroll Show, and very excited about this. The Wrecking Crew are in a Daredevil adjacent street level heroes kind of show.
Yeah, be excited for this. I'm sorry if you actually were excited for this, Nando. Actually, Nando liked he's liking She-Hulk, isn't he? Because I remember sharing that fucking tweet. Was it yesterday that I shared? Yeah, She-Hulk continues to rule. So I guess he is happy about the use in there.
Anyone who's like a She-Hulk, I'm concerned for their mental health.
I generally don't understand how someone could like She-Hulk, to be honest. Because I was thinking, like, what is there to enjoy? I guess if you think the comedy's funny, and it kind of overshadows everything else, but like, I don't see many people thinking the comedy is funny. Because, I don't know, comedy's subjective. Like, what makes you laugh is subjective, but I don't know, still find it weird.
If you think
So-
She-Hulk's funny, you think CBB shows peak TV. I'm sorry.
Well, aren't they? It's all I watch. I don't understand.
Explains a lot you're Brazilian.
We are doing so many great things. I've been looking to branch out, and what luck, because I saw your note and color me intrigued. Dear Nando, we saw how great all the Marvel stuff is, and we need your help. Luckily, we have a bunch of free time because our big franchise-wide reset movie got delayed for no reason.
For no reason.
What?
It's a
I
joke,
think he's
Jeff.
talking about the Flash.
Yeah, he's joking, Jeff. That Warner Bros. Exec sent him a letter being like, "Oh, see, we want help making our cinematic universe because our Flash movie got delayed for no reason," like in quotation marks as a joke, because obviously there is a reason, you know, Jeff. Now do you understand the joke?
They're making jokes about domestic abuse. I can't find that funny.
Oh yes, you've never done that before.
No.
So, we want to start looking at some sequels. Do you have a fun idea for The Batman 2? Signed, the current WB guy. I appreciate
The current WB guy. Did we say, was it Zaslav or whatever the fuck his name
I
is?
think this was before the merger, and everything went completely tits up.
Right. I guess this.
Got even worse.
I guess this video aged well, to be honest, considering this intro. Yeah. Also, I was saying, because there was a few ECUMs back, Barry was in chat being like, "Oh, we thought he was talking about James Wan, he was talking about fucking Aquaman, but I'm pretty sure he meant Zaslav because the way he typed it wasn't correct, but it seemed more like that name than James Wan. So yeah, if anyone watched that ECUM a couple ECUMs back, it's probably what he meant.
Candor, and it just so happens that yes, I do have a fun idea for The Batman sequel.
Jeb, your fucking
I would
fan
love
is
to share it
annoying
with
me.
you, and only you.
It's
So
not
do
on,
not
you're
share
lying.
this video.
Are you fucking breathing into your mic? Is that it?
No, my fan is on.
Oh, you fuck off.
with anybody. Otherwise, you'll have to have someone else write it, and it will probably be a fantastic story, but it'll be different from this one, and you'll have to pretend you haven't seen this video, so let's try to avoid that. But before we get to the pitch, I do want to talk about 3 characters that I've seen fans talking about. They seem to believe they should be in the sequel. So I want to tell you why none of them are in my pitch. First, this one's easy.
Okay.
Every
That's
time
nice.
I bring up Batman sequels, I hear Court of Owls suggested as a potential plot point.
I would not do that on the second
Yeah,
film. I'd
absolutely.
wait.
They're like at least like a movie 3, or if they want to go beyond, like a movie 4 or 5.
Yeah,
sort of
ideally I
villain,
would make it on the 5th film.
this is still Bruce like early in his career. This is something he should face when he's like pretty far into his career and much more
Yeah.
experienced. And plus, like, he brings it up later because I think I've seen this one, but like it's a bit too similar to what the last film did.
Right.
And if you don't know, the Court of Owls is a secret society that's pulling all the strings in Gotham. They wear owl masks and have an operative they call Talon. Here's the thing. We just got done with a movie about Batman unraveling the massive conspiracy that ties together political power, law enforcement, and organized crime, who secretly control all of Gotham. I know Paul Dano said it in an interview once, bless his heart, but what is there left for Batman to discover? I want to tread new ground.
What? No, there's a lot
Don't think
left to
that logic
discover.
entirely
Yeah.
works.
Yeah, I want Carnival should be late in the career because it's like such a big reveal that it like the previous films are gonna have to recontextualize without that, and all his experience being like challenged by the Court of Owls is what's interesting to me. Because if you do it on a second film, it kind of feels like you're wasting a lot of the potential of exploring Bruce's character. It's not because there isn't anything left to discover. I'm pretty sure there's a lot you can discover on like a political level, how a city like Gotham has become so corrupt because, well, we know that it is corrupt, and there's obviously more stuff around the Waynes with Riddler's plan than just what was revealed in this film. So it's a weird statement. Nando's my favorite Nebula member, actually. I love how tough he is. Fuck's sake, man.
Second one, a little trickier. Robin. I do not hate Robin. I think he is a great character. All of them are. But let's say we're
Yeah, but swear to
specifically
God, you're a
talking
fan.
about Dick Grayson. I've heard the argument that they should do Robin in these, because why not? Robin is cool. And I'm sure we can come up with a...
I think people would have more to say than just why not. Robin is cool. I'm kind of torn. I kind of wish we would see a good version of Robin because The Dark Knight Rises really annoys me with how it does Robin. But also, I think this Batman being alone would also work well for his character. And like, for example, the end of the first film definitely seems to imply that him wanting to be with someone would kind of be like impeded by his need to save the city. So I think him developing relationships, no matter in what form, like friendships or, you know, father-son relationship like with the Robin or something like that, I think it would be kind of maybe not out of character, but it would clash with his ideals, which could be interesting to explore. But I do think him lone wolfing it would kind of be cooler. That's why I would say I don't think I don't want Robin.
Well, personally, like, part of me does like want Robin at some point. I don't think it should be too early in like the series. Like maybe at the very least, have him in like movie 3, or if they go beyond that, maybe movie 4. Like that, I feel like him being like much more later in his career is a bit of a wiser move, because like, I guess if like I saw someone suggest they should do Jason Todd for his one, because it'd be much more like vengeful, angry, than like Bruce can see like a mirror of how he was like 6-ish years ago. Then he can see how far he's become, and he can like I guess shadow this new Robin to be like more how he's learned to become. Like that sort of arc could be pretty good for him.
It could be cool if you're like introduced at the end of like 3, and then you have 4 being entirely with them, and then 5 you kind of have like the climax of their relationship and they start to clash. And if you could do like the Joker with
Yeah, like it'd be cool to have like a death in the family sort of thing, and like it sort of fit with this universe of how sort of how grimy and dark it can be and how brutal it can be. I can definitely see that happen.
yeah, but it's I guess we both agree. I don't really want to see that on the second film. I think it's a bit too early.
Yeah, movie 2 is
Yeah.
definitely too early. Like it should at least be like, as you said, at least movie 3. Like at the very least, or at least close to at least. Again, just later like that.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of suggestions people have for like the second film would all work in a later film, because they're all suggesting that they just blow their load right way too early. Like you gotta think about with optics. Like obviously this is gonna be a trilogy or like a series, so you gotta think about more than just the second film.
Yeah. I guess it's the difference between like planning for like longevity, or you do something like Nolan did, where it's like, oh, the second film we're already gonna do Joker. Like, how do you actually go beyond that? It's like, oh, Bane, I guess.
Yeah, like because wasn't the trilogy not actually planned for that one? It was just gonna be Batman
It was
Begins,
just
then
gonna be-
Dark Knight, and then
Well, even Dark Knight wasn't planned. Like when that final scene teasing Joker happened, the second film wasn't even confirmed or anything like that. So it was genuinely just it was kind of like the post credit scene of Iron Man 1 with Nick Fury, because it was generally just an Easter egg, and then they confirmed the second film, like, oh shit, I guess we actually are gonna do that.
Yeah, whereas this one, we're like, we know, I'm pretty certain Matt Reeves has like a bit more of a plan for this going
Yeah.
forward, so we can at
Yeah,
least,
he does seem to have a better
He's-
understanding of his universe with the TV shows he's doing and everything like that as well.
like he has like a much more concrete plan. So you gotta take that into account, that he's gonna factor in like longevity and how it's
Yeah.
gonna continue after that. So
Yeah, because
kind
I
of
think it would be
folds
interesting
everything
as
into the
well
sequel.
seeing Robert Pattinson age in this role, and we see as he ages, the character aging. I think it'll be really interesting to explore that. As time goes on, you actually see the experience with Robert Pattinson, whereas with Christian Bale, it always kind of felt like it's all the same Batman in that film. Whereas
Yeah,
this, I
'cause,
can
like,
definitely
even in
tell it's
Dark-
like very early Batman and Robert Pattinson being pretty young. So
Yeah, and like even in Dark Knight Rises, like it was supposed to be 8 years after Dark Knight, and like you can barely tell, to be honest. Like it just feels like it's been maybe like a short while afterwards for most of them.
Mhm.
Which, yeah, if they do go for longer with Pattinson, it should at least be like a nice way to show experience.
yeah,
The clever way to fit him into the bigger picture. I don't disagree. However, I think Robin feels like a movie 3 beat.
hey, we agree. Nice.
No,
Always nice to see. Cool.
Batman is just getting started. He's finding himself. In the end of this last movie, he just learned that he cannot save the city by being vengeance. He needs to be something more. So let's prove
Yeah.
that out. Take a movie to test that theory. And then when
Yeah, I think that could be
Yeah.
that is the plan for Matt Reeves. Should be kind of like in the second film, he's not gonna try to act like he did in the first one, just like being vengeance. Is gonna be, try to be hope, and probably have that challenge. I think it's hard to say which villain would be the best, because there are many great Batman villains. I think Scarecrow could be a good one to challenge the idea of hope, because it is genuinely just like the idea of fear,
Like-
which is
like hope and fear. It would be
yeah.
a good contrast.
I think that's why they chose a Joker, because obviously everyone sees him as the one that ultimately tests Batman the most in
Yeah.
his morals.
Oh yeah, I think it's I think so, yeah, but I don't think, because hasn't Matt Reeves said like that the Joker teases like teasing the second film?
I think he said it's not going to tease anything. That that there's no major plans for the Joker. That he's more just he was more or less just sort of someone to establish the world, to establish that he's had a career this far, and like he's fought other people. Joker was basically world building,
Right.
essentially.
Right. Yeah, because I wouldn't do Joker in the second film yet. I would.
Oh,
I would wait.
absolutely. Like
I would wait.
it'd be basically just like a bit too close to something like what Dark Knight did. Plus,
Yeah.
because people would say
Yeah.
it's basically just doing the same, and like, like I'm not too upset over new Joker, but like I am sort of getting the Joker fatigue that some people have. Like, there's so many happening at once, so maybe waiting a short while, maybe like movie 4 or something. Like if they do that, like that'd be a good spot for Joker. But as for now, I'm fine if he's just like a side villain, or like just or there's like something looming in the background which may or may not set off at some point.
Yeah, it's what I said. That original stream we talked about the Batman, that I think the Arkham series having Joker in it would be ideal to establish his presence in Arkham, kind of do like an Arkham Asylum, like the video game kind of thing, or maybe like the comic, but the point of the comic is more so that getting in Batman's psyche. But like if you have but not actually have like Batman there, but like just to show like, how Joker controls Arkham Asylum, and how he has this immense pull over these other villains, and kind of show his his intelligence at play, and establish him as a threat, but don't actually like have him face Batman yet, until you actually
Yeah,
kind of
exactly,
have like a
'cause,
rising
like-
tension till you get there.
Because like all I really sort of know about this sort of Joker is that he was a serial killer that Batman put away. We don't know like what what makes him tick, like what all that sort of stuff. Like the thing that I sort of imagine could happen is like in Arkham City with like the tapes, and where like Hugo Strange interviews him, and he gives the Killing Joke backstory and all that, and he says, "I know, I'm probably making it up." Like I can imagine the Joker them doing that for the Arkham series, where like you're seeing little bits and pieces of what makes him up, but like at the same time, it's entirely possible that he's completely bullshitting himself because that's who he is. He's insane. So
Yeah.
like you never know what's going on with him. So like it'd be a nice way to like get all that information down and for the audience without having to dedicate like a big chunk of a film to do it.
Yeah.
If you catch my drift.
Yeah.
I also
I
think
think
let's not go first because he hasn't spoken.
no. Okay. I was just gonna say to bounce off sort of what he said in terms of like Batman learning to do things through hope and all that. Like it, like the film like has him learn that lesson, but there's still a lot you can do in terms of like putting him through an arc of learning to operate in that sort of way. Like he's been operating for 2 years with more sort of fear, and so he's going to have a lot of instincts, like in terms of operating that way. So you still do a lot with like having him learn to sort of deal with that and just try and do things a bit more differently and how he gets used to it and how he feels about it all and whatnot.
Mm. Yeah, because obviously
Yeah,
he isn't
exactly, 'cause,
just
like-
gonna change, like it's just a flip that's gonna change in his mind and he's gonna start being all hopeful. He's
Yeah,
still that same
exactly.
person inside.
It's not gonna be the most gentle of transitions.
Yeah.
He's gonna fall into a couple sort of, I guess like there could be like a scene where like he's being a bit too brutal and he realizes, oh shit, I've done it again.
Yeah,
And then,
I
like,
think
he
it would be neat to have him
realizes
talk
he's
to
supposed to be
Alfred after he comes to Batcave and be like, I've done it again. Like, I wasn't able to hold back or control myself, something like that. Have some neat character stuff between the two with the...
Yeah, like sort of like the scene in the subway in the first film where like he saves the guy and the guy's just like don't hurt me, don't hurt
Yeah.
me, like a scene like that, and he like it's a lot more impactful because we realize Bruce is trying to actually not do that anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would love a nightmare sequence with Scarecrow showing Bruce's greatest fears, and one of them is something like that, and that really testing Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
I'd really love something like that, and I think Matt Reeves can really pull off all that lighting that'd be needed for it.
I think if you have the like nightmare sequences like in Arkham Knight with Matt Reeves' direction, I think it could be phenomenal.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Still one of my favorite sequences in Arkham Knight is when you have to go down in the gas and you have to change like the Batmobile's fucking, I don't remember what
You
it
have to
is.
change the battery because it's like knackered from the cloudburst, and like
Yeah.
all the different civilians are just Joker and they're all trying to gang up on you.
Yeah, and Joker's fucking talking to you, and I love that game. Like how Batman's greatest fear is becoming the Joker. It does a lot with Batman's character, and I think it's really neat. Not that the story's
Oh,
fit
definitely.
perfect or anything, but I really like that game.
Yeah, exactly.
Batman thinks he's got it all together. Boom, a kid. I certainly would not be surprised if this movie ends with Bruce Wayne going to a circus or something like that, but I don't think it's time for Robin yet. And the last one, the tough one. Mr. Freeze is a very popular choice to lead this movie. It is
I think it could be neat as well, considering Mr. Freeze losing his wife, and how that could
Yeah.
be like mirrored by Bruce losing his parents, and how he went down a path of vengeance, and that caused Mr. Freeze to become more of a villain. And kind of be like understand more his pain than he would in like other adaptations, I imagine. Because
Yeah.
Bruce has actually gone down this like similar path. So yeah, kind of like it.
Yeah, and plus the city's been flooded now thanks to what Riddler did. So like thrown in like Mr. Freeze, like freeze up maybe like a block of like the city, and like it's like his sort of area. Like that'd be a beautiful sort of set piece to do for like maybe like a winter sort of a winter aesthetic for the film. Like how the first one was very Halloweenish. This one could be. And not so much Christmassy, but like just like have a snow aesthetic, sort of like Arkham Origins.
Right. To be fair, that game is set in Christmas, but
Yeah,
yeah, I
like,
get what you mean.
You get what I mean. Plus how the first film was like, that was basically an Arkham Origins film. The first one, like even down to the great big speech about how he's the shadows. That just reminds me of the speech he gives to Alfred.
I absolutely love that scene with Alfred in Arkham Origins. Arkham Origins is such an underrated game.
Yeah.
The story's really good.
I say that, but I still gotta play it because the only one I've really sort of completed is City and Night, because, well, the only versions of Asylum and City I've got is for remasters, and I'd rather stick glass in my eye than play those again.
Oh yeah, the Return to Arkham.
Yeah.
Are the original versions not available on like PS Store or something?
No, it's on PS Now, I think, which is completely dying right now.
Yeah, because they have the
What?
PS Plus
What?
premium.
The fuck you? PS Now isn't a thing anymore.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
been
so
merged
it's
with
dead.
PS Plus.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah,
It never
I haven't
existed in
I haven't
Brazil.
checked it in like ages. I didn't even know if it was still around or not. That's how dead it was.
PS Plus and PS Now is basically merged, as Zod said, into one thing, which is what Sky is referring to.
Yeah, because I know the Return to Arkham versions of Asylum and City are on the PS Plus premium, but I didn't know if the original version was. If it's not, then yeah, I get it. Not playing it because I don't like those remasters either.
It's a bit more tolerable in City because, like, the lighting's very dim, but like with what I've seen of Asylum, it's just no.
Oh no, yeah, the Asylum looks way worse. City is less noticeable, but yeah. I never finished Asylum on the Return to Arkham versions. I only did City because that don't know.
I think I've got me like an hour into it on the remaster, and I decided, fuck it, I'm just gonna like get like either wait until I get a PC or just buy the PS3 version because I'm not playing that shit.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say because if you had it on if you had a PC, I'd just gift it to you on Steam. But obviously you don't have a PC, so I can't. Batman would kidnap Barry Allen with prep time. I like that Batman would need prep time to get Barry Allen. Unless you mean actual like the Flash, but when you say Barry Allen, I assume you mean Twitter Barry Allen. But who knows, honestly.
All the fan art, all the fan casting, and I've been trying to figure out why. Here's where I'm at.
Why? I guess I just pointed it out, right? That his story with his wife mirroring Bruce's story with his
just like
parents.
Matt Reeves has said, like, he'd love to use Mr. Freeze in a sequel at some point, so everyone just sort of naturally went towards Mr. Freeze.
Yeah, and also Giancarlo Esposito, everyone's fan casting him because he'd be perfect for that role.
Yeah, because like this is sort of ties into like another point is that everyone keeps saying that this series shouldn't be strictly fully realistically grounded. Like they want some sort of a bit more fantastical stuff, like Mr. Freeze and stuff in it, and they don't want it to be like pure like the Dark Knight trilogy where like it took all of the sort of much more out there concepts and just pulled them down to sort of much more if it could exist in our world. So like it's why I want Mr. Freeze as well, because like it sort of maybe expands like the world so like it isn't fully sort of ultra realistic.
Well, that's one thing that I was worried that the Batman would be is too grounded, but then the film has like the Batmobile and a lot of Batman's gadgets that are very like high tech that would not exist in the real world. I'm like, oh, okay, so this film isn't like shying away from some sci-fi shit.
The way that I describe it is that it's sort of like the Dark Knight trilogy where it's very grounded and realistic, but the Dark Knight was ultra realistic, whereas this is realistic and grounded, but not afraid to have a bit of fun with itself, or have a bit of fun with the Batman sort of stuff, like the gadgets and stuff.
Yeah, it's like the type of thing where I don't think he would try to use that fucking like plane idea to get into Hong Kong, because the Dark Knight did. That I think is like you're trying way too hard to be like grounded here.
Yeah, like it's one of my major gripes with the Dark Knight trilogy is that I wouldn't say it took the fun out of Batman, but just like it was a bit too realistic for me. Like it just felt like they tried so hard to make it ultra realistic that it sort of made it a bit more like it's a thriller film, but it's disguised as a Batman film. Like that's the sort of thing that I get.
Yeah, and it's also like if the story is actually like tied together well, that could have worked better. But when you have like a story that's trying to be so grounded, you have like Joker's plan especially being so full of holes, it's kind of like, I guess it loses the connection I have with it, at least.
Yeah, and that's fair, yeah.
Nando looks like a hostage in this shot. He does. Poor Nando.
Number 1, Heart of Ice is a great episode of the animated series.
Yeah, I
Well,
I
Okay,
disagree.
let's not go there.
I
About that.
disagree. Let's just say that. I don't think it's good.
Which, listen, it is. And it's an interesting characterization for Freeze. The near robotic delivery of Michael Anasara's Freeze felt like the first time that character had been taken seriously. And while Mr. Freeze had been around since 1959, it wasn't until Heart of Ice that the backstory we all know and love was born. Victor Freeze was a scientist working on a cure for his wife Nora's terminal illness. And to preserve her health, Nora was frozen in suspended animation. And
It's kind of a tangent, but I like what Harley Quinn did with Mr. Freeze. I don't remember if it was season 1 or 2, but there's an episode with Mr. Freeze where he's trying to save Nora and shit, and Harley Quinn ends up like fucking him over because she's like trying to become like the ruler of Gotham. But when she does that, he ends up like basically sacrificing himself to save Nora, and Nora like stays alive after he dies, saving her. And I think it's just a really cool concept that it does with that. So I recommend Harley Quinn. It's a good show.
Well, that just reminds me of I think it was the Gotham version of Mr. Freeze, where like they introduce him, but where like it's the same backstory, like a scientist trying to save his wife, but except in that version, Nora fucking died, and it's like 10 years before Bruce becomes Batman. So like, why'd you do that? Like, why'd you kill off his main motivation? That just reminded me how stupid that fucking change was.
Yeah. Well, what I like about Harley Quinn is that in season 3, Nora comes back, and they explore like what she would be like after losing her husband, after being like frozen for ages. It's kind of interesting. She ends up like fucking meeting Swamp Thing and getting a relationship with him because why not? But yeah, it's I like Harley Quinn. I still need to catch up on this new season, but yeah, I think it deals with a lot of these concepts really well. That like a lot of people like complain about the newer like animated show adaptations of these stories. I think it actually understands the characters from the comics really well, with while also making fun of them, and it's kind of neat. Yeah, just a weird tangent, but anyway.
it's clever.
fine.
So I appreciate the fans' insistence on bringing that to the silver screen. The character vibe fits with what Reeves has established in the Batman so far, so
I agree.
why not? Especially because, number 2, Arnold, while fun, was not a great interpretation of this character. While, yes, Arnold Schwarzenegger's version of the character from 1997's Batman and Robin is technically a smidge closer to the animated series Mr. Freeze that we all loved, his performance was far from the cold and calculating monster that made that version of the character work. And am I saying it was bad? Not really. It was campy and silly and clearly what they were going for. But a new take on the character, one that's more grounded and serious, would still feel fresh, even though we got a memorable portrayal of the character not too long ago. And he's really one of the only on-screen Batman villains without a beloved, iconic performance. So
It's kind of weird. He's like, oh, here's why I'm not gonna have these 3 characters, and he's like giving reasons why why Mr. Freeze would be a good idea. It's kind of counterproductive, I guess.
he would feel fresh. The right actor could make Mr. Freeze their own in a way that someone trying to reinvent, say, the Joker or Bane probably could not. Because number 3, Mr. Freeze is one of the higher profile villains that this series has not touched, and also has not been done to death. If you look at all the villains post 1989, you see a lot of repeats. Just counting live action films, it's 5 Jokers, 3 Catwomen, 2 Riddlers, 3 Harvey's Dent, 2 Bane.
Harvey's Dent. I would say Bane has been overdone though. But I get the idea. I don't know. It's kind of like, oh, there's 2 Banes, and if you do another Freeze, there's gonna be 2 Freezes. It's like, well, why is it different than Bane? I guess. I don't know. Kind of weird. Clayface would be good to do in live action. I would like to see that. Though I think maybe a bit too fantastical for some like Reeves's universe. I don't know.
I would like Scarecrow and Mr. Freeze to be teaming up together.
Why? Why those 2?
because I think you could do some creative things with the idea of ice and fear toxin. Like you could even spike civilians with ice cubes with Scarecrow's freeze toxin. Not freeze toxin, fear toxin.
Right.
Like it's a basic idea. I don't
Mhm.
know. I think it'd be interesting.
It would be a pretty sort of unique villain team up, I guess, because I
Yeah.
don't know many occasions where they team up.
Yeah.
It's mostly
And
like
Mr.
it's mostly
Freeze,
just
Mr. Freeze motivation could be that he wants people to feel how he does, so they understand what he's doing and why, in this case, the politicians that killed his wife are wrong.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah. And also, yeah, like you said, the politicians. This is also another point as to why Mr. Freeze being in a sequel works, is tie it in with the corruption of Gotham having caused his wife's current situation. That's what caused his motivation. Is very is good to explore, especially as the fallout of the end of the first film.
yeah, and like it could you could kind of say like it's I guess retreading ground from what Riddler did, but like you could say like that Mr. Freeze is like fault is like trying to like be like Batman and like lashing out at like the people who like sparing out vengeance towards those who like wronged him. Like you could maybe say like that after Batman fully came out of the shadows, that's when Mr. Freeze decides to fully take up his moniker and
Right.
do what he does.
Oh, it actually,
But,
I
like,
mean,
it-
I don't think it would be retreading the same ground as Riddler because it is well, in a way it is similar, but it's also like exploring after Batman has had this change of heart, how would he deal with someone like Riddler, when considering how he dealt with him in the first film and how Riddler was based on him. How would Mr. Freeze deal with a Batman that has like fully just like abandoned or tried to abandon that side of like being vengeance? I think that could be interesting to like show the contrast between how Batman has changed and how like he may be falling back on his old ways of being vengeance, and Mr. Freeze, after dealing with Mr. Freeze, he actually fully commits and is able to like guess give up that vengeance
Yeah.
ideal.
Yeah, it'd be a good way. It'd be a good way to challenge his sort of New Hope sort of, I guess, sort of crusade that he's trying to do.
Grounded take on Clayface is like he makes facial prostheses out of clay. Could be cool. Maybe that's stealing Hush's whole thing. Yeah, it does feel a bit too much Hush.
And that at that point, just
do Hush.
Don't do Clayface because his entire thing is he's a failed actor who like got recast and then next thing you know he becomes this huge monster. Like his whole thing is that he is like a big clay monster. Like at that point, go big or go home.
Yeah, maybe he has a condition that makes his body able to be molded like clay, so he gets real good at making different faces and shit. I guess it could be
Maybe,
interesting
but-
if he could like mold only his face, but I think we kind of like how do you make him a formidable villain by that point? Because as Tim said, he is a big monster, and that's kind of like part of it.
Like his whole thing is that if he can only change his face, then
He's just a
he's
guy.
basically Clayface in name only. Like at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think you could do like a grounded version of him that actually is like the
'cause, like,
character.
Again, it's the point made earlier. Like at some point, like if they want to do more fantastical villains, they're going to have to establish that that sort of stuff can happen.
Uh-huh.
Or like sort of, I guess sort of not so much change the tone, but establish that this world can sort of produce very fantastical sort of creatures and stuff.
Uh-huh. Which I don't think it'd be that hard when you already have like advanced tech like this. You could just like have like
Yeah.
a fucking particle accelerator explosions or shit like that. Not to
Like,
that
you could
extent.
totally,
I'll try
like,
to
introduce,
redo
like, other
Flash.
elements. Like for example, Mr. Freeze. Mr. Freeze will be pretty easy to do. Like he just like out of all the fantastical villains, he's probably one of the most easy to bring into a grounded world.
Would Scarecrow possibly work as a villain in the sequel? Yeah, that was the first
Yeah, absolutely.
suggestion I gave earlier. I think it would be a great one.
Well, he wasn't exactly very well executed in Batman Begins. He worked with the grounded nature of that at least, so we know that he can work in a grounded setting.
Yeah. And it's a very simple thing. It's just like it's chemicals in your brain, and it finds out how to manipulate that into making you scared. It's not like that out of the ordinary.
Basically, he's a supervillain drug dealer. Is what he is.
Oh, that's what they tried to do in The Dark Knight, even though it made no sense. You know, that opening scene where it's
Yeah.
like, oh, I told you my product would take you places. Never said it was places you wanted to go. It's like, what? You're trying to fucking sell drugs that make people scared. Of course people are not gonna like it. What are you doing? It's fucking retarded ass world building. Anyway. I have I have a few issues with The Dark Knight.
Well, I can
Two
tell.
penguins, two falconis, two maronis. Then, for only one
But Penguin isn't the main villain though. I wouldn't.
Yeah, like he's like Penguin's more like a sort of side villain.
Yeah, I
that
think
sort
he's
of
just like a
case. He's
character that exists. You're like establishing how the world building works. I don't think he's much
Like,
of like
he's
a
more or
villain.
less just like part of the mob world in that case, because like
Yeah.
the actual sort of mob villain in that was Falcone, and Penguin was just sort of the middleman, I guess, because he's like who Batman went to.
I think it's
on the
kind of
mayor's
like
death and such.
saying Quinn in Agents of Shield season 1 is like a main villain. It's kind of no,
Yeah.
he's working for the clairvoyant. Like that's part of his plan. He's not like the bigger threat that Shield needs to deal with. You know.
Yeah, he's like, because like the whole thing with Penguin, like I think the plan for his sort of story is that he like gets bigger within the crime world, whereas right now he's just like the you know the right hand guy
Yeah.
for Falcone, and now that he's gone, they even sort of point out in the film itself that people will rise not through the power struggle. So
Yeah, the power vacuum.
and plus the TV show is going to show his origins, so he's not going to be a main villain, but more or less just sort of.
Well, I guess he
Okay,
could
I
become the
guess-
main villain at some point, but the idea is like
Yeah, like-
he isn't yet, and I wouldn't count him as like one of these versions that he's pointing out here.
Yeah, like he's more so just someone who's there. That's the sort of best way to put it.
two Banes, two Penguins, two Falconis, two Maronis. Then, for only one
Maroni as well as another one that I wouldn't count as like a main villain. As a
Don't get by doesn't even count the one that was in the Batman in the news footage, because surely that would count.
I don't know.
Because like he counts for Maroni from Batman Forever, who was only in the sort of clip where he throws acid on Harvey's face, and that was one scene. So why the fuck is he counting that?
I don't fucking know. Yeah, it's a weird one.
portrayal, you have Ra's al Ghul.
And it's obviously like in The Dark Knight, he isn't like a main player. He's just a pawn for Joker's plan. He's more of a main player than Penguin is in the Batman, I think.
Yeah.
Isn't he?
Because like it.
I think maybe to the same extent.
Yeah, true.
Scarecrow, Max Shrek, Talia, Poison Ivy, Harley.
I would love a good version of Poison Ivy in live action. I think it would be cool. Especially with Reeves doing a more grounded take and having Poison Ivy as a character who is like very like, you know, pro environment and have her clash with Batman and try to actually have like these two characters positions clash would be interesting. I think that could be
Shut
Because
the
like
fuck
there's,
up.
I guess because like there's on Twitter people saying like, oh, like Poison Ivy isn't that bad, but like
Oh no, she's
a case of-
she's done a lot of shit things. She
yeah,
hates
like it's a case of
humanity.
she's still killed people. She's
Yeah.
still done up a lot of bad shit, but just her motivation isn't entirely evil. It's just that it needs a proper execution to sort of show that you could have like a proper discussion with her and say that both your points are valid.
Yeah, which is
I
why
think Reeves could
I
pull
think
off.
she works well in Arkham Knight. As she dies and she actually kind of redeems herself and like defending Batman and whatnot. She like hasn't given up on trying to save humanity, and obviously her connection to the plants, so like helping that save people and destroy the fucking gas and everything. Because like her point is that she wants to defend the environment. She thinks humans are like destroying it, and she wants to kill humanity and like terraform Earth to her or maybe not terraform Earth, maybe not all versions of her like that. But like in Harley Quinn, for example, season 3, she wants to terraform Earth to just make it her version of it is like the Garden of Eden, I think is what she calls it. But so obviously she doesn't really like humans, and if it weren't for Harley, she wouldn't have like actually been able to open herself up to becoming friends with humans, actually accepting that hey, maybe not all humans are bad. And so if you do something like this where she's like completely like hell-bent on destroying humanity because of what they've done to Earth, but then you have her like fighting Batman and Batman actually acknowledging her point of view, but talking to her, in showing her that her ways to do it, to achieve her goal, are counterproductive and whatnot. That could be cool.
Calendar Man, Deathstroke, Deadshot, KG Beast, and Mr. Freeze. So Mr. Freeze is surely due before Bane or Two-Face. Number 4,
Sure.
cool character design. Batman and Robin character design, while something, does not really seem like the best we can do with a man in a scary cryo suit. Don't get
Yeah, it wasn't supposed to be that scary in that film, I'm afraid, but I get what you mean. Could do a lot with the concept of the scary suit. I mean, just Darth Vader kind of shows it perfectly. You can do like a suit like that.
One concept like that I kind of like is it like an old diving suit where like it's like the old sort of big helmet with a circular window, like that sort of design for Mr. Freeze. I feel
Isn't
like
that
could be
in
pretty
Arkham
intimidating for
City?
him.
I like his design in Arkham City.
Oh yeah, that's a really freaking good design for him.
Yeah. Let me see here. I want to look for a photo because it's been a while since I played that game. Jeb, are you fucking hitting your mic? What are you doing?
I'm not doing anything. I just went you.
Yeah, but some sounds coming from you. This is...
Yeah, see you.
No, you fucking faggot. That's not what I mean. Okay, here. This is the Arkham City design. I like it.
Yeah, that's sort of general Arkham design for him. Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess you could say that's sort of a peak design for him so far, since like none other has looked that has really surpassed it. I guess because like I haven't seen anything that really shows how intimidating, but like how intimidating he is. Yeah, like that's sort of the bread and butter of him.
Yeah, because like for even Harley Quinn, he wasn't that much. He just kind of looks like a more detailed and modern version of the B-Test suit, I guess.
Yeah, true.
Which I kind of like, but I don't really think it's the best. Yeah, so yeah, I'd say Arkham City is probably the best we have so far.
Get me wrong, it had moth wings, and it is an improvement on the Batman 66 Freeze costume, but there's definitely room for improvement here too. And the Reeves team has done a great job so far of reinventing the looks of classic characters to fit into the noir Gotham aesthetic.
Yeah, I like Riddler's design a lot. I think it's a really brilliant way of like doing, like what would happen if Riddler actually was real in our universe. What would he look like? It's like that. Like, yeah, this perfectly.
Like taking inspiration from the Zodiac Killer. That's like that's an inspired choice for Riddler, to be honest.
Yeah, taking inspiration from Fincher films for this is just such a brilliant idea from Reeves.
It's just especially for a detective movie. Like a detective movie taking down a Zodiac Killer Riddler is just perfect.
Yeah.
Sips.
I guess Calendar Man could be an interesting side villain if you do someone like Zaz, Hush, Pig as a main villain. However, it'll be heavily similar to the leader Joker scene.
Yeah, because like, well, Calendar Man was basically I guess the intimidating version is basically what Riddler was doing here, like just killing off people on specific dates and all that stuff. Like that, and like the most of the stuff you see him is like in the Arkham series, but like he's like the guy behind the glass who like you visit further crimes and stuff. That's mostly all you do. Like he'd work in like the Arkham TV series that they're doing. Like he'd fit in mostly there. That's where I put him.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Calendar Man would be that great.
So it would be interesting to see how they make someone like Mr. Freeze fit into that universe.
I agree.
Number 5, the ice gun is cool.
Wait, sorry. He said he's not gonna have Mr. Freeze in his
I think
pitch.
he's
So why?
listening for the reasons people. He's listening for reasons people want.
Yeah,
him
but
in,
why?
Not the reasons he wants him.
This is a part of the pitch. I don't
Fuck
see
if
the
I
point
know.
of this. It's like, yeah. It's like, this is such a stupid fucking point. Like, yeah, the ice gun is cool. You don't need to bring that up. Like,
Like it goes without saying, his entire shtick is ice. Of course, it's gonna be cool.
fuck's sake, Tim. Fuck's sake.
That was unintentional, I promise.
Oh,
Specifically, I think a lot of audiences are interested to see Reeves' take on the metahuman Batman villains. So,
Indeed.
Freeze might be a good place to start. He's got a simple, scientific-ish basis for his powers that would not feel too out of place in the world Reeves has created.
this doesn't seem like the ice gun is cool. Like, I don't think that has anything to
It
do with
seems
what you're
more like
saying. Nando.
Freeze himself would be cool in the world, I guess.
Yeah,
Like, not-
but I
not-
would
not
more
the
say
gun
like
itself.
the point here doesn't really seem to be about his ice gun. It would seem to be more about his he like how metahumans are explored with Matt Reeves is an interest people have. Like that's what I would say this point is about. But whatever.
Yeah.
And he could act as an entry point for more extreme metahuman villains like Ivy or Clayface. Number 5. Gotham Central comic rules. I want to throw this out there if you haven't read it before. Gotham Central by Ed Brubaker and Michael Lark is an exploration of the Gotham City villains through
I
the
have
lens
not
of a
read it,
street-level
but
cop.
I might.
Sure, it is scary for Batman to fight someone like Mr. Freeze, but can you imagine trying to deal with Mr. Freeze as just a guy not prepared for him? And he can completely freeze you, killing you instantly and leaving behind what is essentially a statue? That is pretty crazy. And Freeze is the villain who opens that story. So seeing that kind of take on Freeze could be fun. But all that being said, why now? Why is Mr. Freeze the best villain for this point in Bruce's journey? I do not see a reason. Freeze is all about revenge, as he loves.
There, you just pointed it out.
Yeah,
What?
yeah, it's
Because
right
he's
there.
all about revenge. Yes, and Batman just went through an arc about revenge, about like wanting revenge and how that was not what he should be doing. It's right there. You just figured out the conflict. Jeb,
Yes.
are you playing a video game?
Yes.
Are you? I can hear you mashing a button every now and then. So that's why I
Playing
ask.
Sonic Unleashed.
Right.
Of course you are.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
What else?
Shut the fuck up, you.
It's just because
fucking
whenever your
retard.
fucking fan makes a noise on your mic, I can hear the fucking button mashing as well. Just wondering. Captain Cold,
Honestly.
regular man, metahuman. Mr. Freeze in the metahuman is like saying Captain Cold is a metahuman. I guess metahuman in the sense that he has like enhanced abilities, whether it be because of a suit he created or you know, of having a you know, like an overpowered weapon, like something like that. Like they're not actually metahumans, but the things they created, the technology they created, kind of makes them metahumans, I guess. But yeah, I kind of agree. Using the word metahuman for them is a bit weird. Probably wouldn't.
Yeah, true.
More so Mr. Freeze, I guess, but Captain Cold, no, he's not a meta.
To say.
Like the swift hand of vengeance.
Freeze is a dispassionate revenge machine.
Yes, it's very
Yeah,
good.
that
It's foil to
works
the
perfectly
Batman.
for Batman on his vengeance arc.
Yeah,
So,
there's a version of Captain Cold that is a metahuman, oh, right? Oh, I imagine that's no that has the cold field that Barry keeps on bringing up that doesn't actually exist in the show.
he would exist as a foil to Batman in a movie where Batman needs to learn that vengeance is not the way to solve problems, and Batman needs to stand for something more.
Yeah, that was the first film,
Yes,
and then
but-
you gotta think, hey, how do we go from there? Is Batman just now fully changed, or is he gonna maybe relapse? Maybe you can have a villain that makes him, that is so powerful that makes him kind of relapse, and that's kind of the thing. It's like the same way that Dark Knight used Joker to have Batman break his one rule, right? Like, I don't know.
And that movie, Riddler was all about vengeance, and Batman and Riddler had that "we're not so different" chat that spells it out. So I don't see Freeze as the next step in this character's development. But maybe there's another reason people love Freeze. It isn't just Mr. Freeze that the people want anyway. They specifically want Giancarlo Esposito as Mr. Freeze. Again, I've seen it in all
Yeah,
the
he'll
fan
be
art,
great.
and I cannot deny that Giancarlo Esposito would make a fantastic Mr. Freeze. So
Yes.
maybe it all comes down to Giancarlo Esposito is in his prime. Let's get him in one of these as a villain. And hey, Mr. Freeze is good fit. Esposito could do cold.
Why are you showing him on the fucking on the boys? Why aren't you goddamn fucking showing him the one role he was made famous for? Why the boys? Fuck's sake. Anyway, that annoyance aside, I still think if it was just Giancarlo Esposito, people could fan cast him as plenty of other villains that I think could work well.
Like, I've seen him fan casted as like Hugo Strange, as a Mr. Freeze, obviously, as
Yeah.
I've seen him as plenty, so it isn't just Giancarlo Esposito. Just to counter one thing you said earlier, how like Riddler would like it'd be how like the whole revenge thing would be too similar to Riddler. Like the thing that came to my mind was that the Riddler scene was supposed to be like Batman realizing, oh shit, is this what I'm like? Is this what I've done?
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah, he
him
realizes
looking
he's
inside
had
his whole
the
thing.
opposite impact that he wanted to have.
Yeah, like whereas with Mr. Freeze it'd be a case of, oh god, is this what I was like? Like him realizing that his vengeance is still haunting him even when he's trying to go on a more hopeful path. So like it could
Right.
totally still work. Like it wouldn't be exactly the same as it. So I don't get why like the whole revenge idea is too similar.
Yeah, it's because it's
Yeah,
just Zod mentioned it earlier. It's like he's not gonna change from just like instantly. It's gonna take a while. If you have another villain to explore how he's changing further, that helps a lot. So
Calculating, single-minded, threatening, in a way that few actors these days.
Jesus Christ, Jeb, are you? Is your
Sorry.
fan like sitting right in front of your mic? I swear to God.
No. What happened was the cats were trying to climb the curtains, and I had to get up, and the fan was in the way.
That's fair then. He's probably gonna end up as Professor X. Yeah, people also really wanted him as Professor X. I'm not sure how I feel about the idea. I think he'd be a good Professor X, but I think he'd be, in the MCU, I don't want him.
Yeah, he'd be a good Professor X, but Professor X in the MCU, and that's not something I want to see him in.
Yeah, because we've seen them do Professor X once already in the Multiverse of Madness, and it's kind of like,
Yeah, it doesn't inspire the highest of faiths.
yeah.
Can. But, and hear me out, I love Esposito, but I
Me
not
too.
only don't think Mr. Freeze is an interesting pick here, I think there's another villain that works well with Esposito's skill set, who we have not seen in a film
Hugo
before.
Strange.
Hugo
And
Strange.
who could be a great foil
Yeah,
for Bruce
Hugo
at this
Strange.
point in his life. And his name is Hugo Strange.
Hey, cool. I
there
also
we go.
want to see a live action version of Hugo Strange. I like him in Arkham City, despite his plan not being great. I don't think his performance is really good. I think his character is really interesting to have as a foil for Batman. So yeah, I agree, and I also think Giancarlo could do a great job as him.
Yeah.
There's
Plus,
like those
you could easily-
very like those long monologues of it would be like very up his own ass. I think in a way is Giancarlo could pull that off very well of like taking himself
Yeah.
all that seriously.
Plus, like, you could easily set him up in, like, maybe, like, the Arkham TV series where, like, he's running the whole operation and stuff. Like, that'd be a pretty easy setup for him, and then, like, you get, like, glimpses of him and, like, how controlling he is and how, like, he wants to be on top of everything, and then we see him in the Batman, and then, like, we see him and Bruce face off, so that'd be good.
Yeah, I would like Hugo Strange and Giancarlo as that. So well done. We agreed, Nando.
So here's the plan. I want to talk about Hugo Strange. What's his deal in the comics? Why do I think he's the best villain for Bruce to face off against now? And then
Alright.
what does that movie look like? Who is Hugo Strange? Hugo Strange has been around for a while. He made his first appearance in Detective Comics number 36, all the way back in February of 1940. That is a month before The Joker.
Holy shit! I didn't know he was this old. Okay, that's cool. Okay, now it makes me want to see him more as in live action. Because has there ever been a version of him in live action, even like a cameo or something?
Nope.
No, he just said,
there was one in Gotham where he was played by
yeah.
by what's his name?
Hugo
he's in-
Strange, Gotham.
He's in Mr. Robot. He plays
Oh, B.D. Wong.
B.D. Wong. Yeah, he plays him,
Yeah,
and he was pretty good in that as far as I remember.
that's
Like,
such a
he got a very
out there casting for Hugo Strange, but also works really well. Now that I think about him as
yeah,
White Rose.
He did work pretty well, but like against Gotham, so it's not the best of materials to work with. But he was pretty good as Hugo Strange.
right.
You know that?
Yeah, he's not what I would think of to cast him as. But he does have the ability of like carrying that character, I think. And now that you mention it, because BD Wong and Mr. Robot, I think that Philip Price's actor, Mr. Robot, would also be a very good Hugo Strange.
That's a good choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that I can definitely see him in that role. Yeah.
Yeah. Because like you have those scenes like when he was talking to that I don't know, like councilman or whatever in season 2. There's like, you know, he thinks, oh, I don't care about you, like you shouldn't yeah, you shouldn't think you matter so little to me that I would never like want you to do this, simply should sabotage or whatever. I think that's like one of the greatest scenes to show you him like as a threatening character and how powerful he is, and I think he could pull that off with Hugo Strange really well. So I would really like that.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Yeah.
Javier Bardem make a decent Mr. Freeze. I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
Probably
he'd
he
be
probably
good.
make more of a guess more stoic lower level villain, I think, because I think Mr. Freeze sometimes goes a bit over the
Who
top.
would he be good as? Because there's so many that like plenty of actors could work with. It's hard to narrow down a good choice for one.
Yeah, but I think it would be cool to see him as a Batman villain.
Oh, definitely. He definitely has the chops for it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which makes Hugo Strange the first recurring Batman villain ever. Naturally, his characterization has changed a lot over time. He's gone from being a random fog-based criminal to super genius, super scientist. But he dies a lot, so he gets a do-over every time. Hugo Strange started out as an evil genius, akin to a Lex Luthor or a Baron Zemo. He commanded a small team of thugs with whom Strange would rob banks. He made fog machines and even engineered monster men, but alas, those were all distractions for bank robberies. Eventually, he was killed, and that was that.
Wait, did Batman kill him?
Yeah, because as a lot of people point out, Batman killed in the early days.
Yeah,
and
he
used guns
used
and
to
that.
use guns and shit like that. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's for justification for everyone says Batfleck is accurate. Because like hey, he killed 80 years ago, that means it's fine.
Until it turned out he was not killed and actually just went somewhere else for a while. Strange does this a lot. Strange took a gap year climbing
He does the Dark Knight Rises thing where he's just like, oh, you think he's that? No, he just went away somewhere. I hate that kind of shit. It just completely undermines the stakes. I think Agents of Shield does
Yeah,
that sometimes, but it's always like it makes sense. I think it adds a lot rather than just because especially bringing Coulson back over and over. There's always like consequences to bringing characters back in Agents of Shield. The thing is, just, oh, I had a plan the whole time, like in fucking Reichenbach Falls. With the Sherlock, and then the next episode, it's like, no, I survived, and I'm not gonna explain why. I just did. And then you think, oh, Moriarty's back. Oh, he's not actually. But that also undermined the fucking conflict. Sherlock, after season 2, not good.
Yeah, absolutely. Ugh.
around Europe and came up with a new scheme. He would trick wealthy Gothamites into believing he was a miracle doctor who could cure them of any ailment. Except
That's a
instead
cool
of
concept.
that, he mutated them into monster men. Strange
Oh.
loves monster men. When
I thought that was a good concept. I'm like tricking them into thinking that he can cure them of anything. That's how he like climbs like the ranks in terms of like getting favors from a bunch of politicians and shit. That could be cool. But turning them into monster men just kind of seems a bit generic, a generic version of doing that.
I feel like the monster men part should sort of be left in the comics, like because like I feel like it's a bit too far out there for like the second movie. Like if they're gonna do this for the second movie, I feel like.
Well, I think
Much more-
I think Nando's just explaining the history. I don't think he's gonna do this specifically with the film.
Yeah.
Because if he does, I think it'll be way too out there for especially this interpretation. Hey Jeb, you watched Hawkeye, didn't you? Someone's in chat asking, can y'all explain the purpose of the watch from Hawkeye? I have no idea what that means, but yeah.
So the watch belongs to what's her name? What's Hawkeye's wife's name?
Linda or some shit. I don't know.
But yeah, anyway, it belongs to his wife, and the point was to set up that his wife was Mockingbird.
Okay.
Oh
yeah, because
she
they're
was
doing
yeah.
Mockingbird undermining Agents of Shield. Because why not? It's the MCU.
Yeah, so it's basically confirmed she was a Shield agent.
Remember when we were gonna get a Mockingbird spin-off of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with Hunter and Bobby? That would have been awesome. That was canceled.
Yeah.
Don't you dare say yeah, Ten. You weren't watching then. I was. I was watching as it released.
I can
was.
participate, alright? I can be in the sidelines.
Can pretend you were. Man, it was so sad to see them leave. It's like you canceled the fucking spin-off. It was gonna be so good. I love those two. It's such great chemistry. To be fair, Hunter coming back season 5 was done really well. Anyway, not Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. talk. It's Batman talk.
When Bruce comes to Strange, who goes by Mr. Todd Hunter now, things get interesting because, besides being Batman's first recurring villain, Hugo Strange holds another comic distinction. He's the first villain to deduce Batman's secret identity. Strange.
Oh, okay. That's a cool idea to do in a live-action film in this universe. I would really like that, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would in the
Because, like-
second film, though, because I think it might be a bit too early to have someone figure out his identity.
I feel like it'd be something to do in like maybe like later in the series, maybe like the third or the fourth film if they do it. Like
I would probably do the third.
once like the third, the third would be good. When Bruce feels like he's got everything down to a T, he's cracked everything as close as he can, and out of nowhere, someone figures it out, and his entire world is just rocked. Like that would be good for his character.
Well, I was thinking of something a bit different, because the idea I had has always been to kind of do the same thing the Dark Knight did, but properly, where you have Harvey Dent in the second film, but not him as a villain. You have him like actually be a good guy, and by the end
Yeah.
he becomes evil, and then the third film he's the villain. I think if you actually have that with Hugo Strange on a third film, that could be really good. Like him working with Hugo Strange, because they both like, you know, having this pull in terms of like politicians and whatnot, and having a plan together could be really good. And you could have that Hugo Strange like figuring out his identity being tied in with that, like their plan. I think that could be good to do on the third film.
Yeah, I agree at least with like for Harvey Dent part. I feel like introducing him in the second film and like I'm not so sure when you would turn him into Two-Face, but like at least introducing him in the second film and having him be a big part in the third film.
Well, I
would
have
be,
him like in the second film, he is a good guy, and then like by the end of the second film, he loses half of his face, but he isn't fully evil yet. And then in the third film, you see him developing into becoming evil in the first act, because I think that could be way better than what the Dark Knight did, which is just like, well, I am evil now. I'm gonna flip coins and kill people because
Yeah.
Joker said so.
like it's a case where like the longevity and sort of plan ahead just sort of works in its favor.
Yeah, which is why Nolan has said, like, if I knew we were making a third film, I would have kept Dent alive. I'm like, yeah, maybe should have planned for that, shouldn't you? But, you know.
Yeah.
Strange takes information and attempts to auction it off to a group of super criminals. One of them, Rupert Thorne, ends up capturing Strange and attempts to beat the information out of him, but Strange suffers injuries during the beating and Hugo Strange was killed, and that was that. Until it turned out Hugo Strange was so good at yoga that he only appeared dead but was actually alive.
No way.
Through the power of yoga, I have appeared dead.
It's like in fucking The Winter Soldier, it's like, oh, Bruce Banner created the thing that can slow down your heartbeat to one beat per minute. And it's like, that already was a bullshit explanation. Imagine saying, oh, it's yoga. Fucking hell. Amazing.
That's such a fucking stupid thing. Imagine explaining that to Batman. Like, how did you survive? Yoga.
I know yoga. Oh, dude, so stupid. That okay. Anyway,
It was Strange got his best idea.
sorry. It froze for a second. Let me rewind a bit.
Only appeared dead but was actually alive. It was then that Strange got his best idea yet. He knows who Batman is, so if he attacked Bruce Wayne, he could defeat the Batman and then take his place. Strange could be the new Batman, which, okay, sure, but
Yeah, him becoming Batman seems kind of weird, but all right.
the plan failed.
I actually think there's an idea with that. Not in the sense of, tries to kill Batman, but if there was a Batman actual copycat full on that was trying to frame Batman as still vengeance and the people wouldn't believe him.
Right.
And Batman has to keep trying to prove that he is changed.
That could work, yeah.
That
Could
work,
work
yeah,
as a jumping off point from the first film because of he's trying to move on from that. And as I think you were saying, Tim, that how Mr. Freeze could like show how his past of like searching for only vengeance could like haunt him a bit. You could do that with Hugo Strange in that way as well. If he is like trying to be a copycat, that could work.
My only issue would be you need to explain how he's so fucking good at fighting and shit.
Yeah, because that's the one thing I never got about Hugo Strange trying to be Batman. Like, how the fuck is he gonna train for that shit when he's like a 50-year-old dude?
Well, to
Like,
be fair, you could just like explain that he in his backstory that he's like very well trained and he's just kind of like a veteran, but his training was insanely intense.
Yoga.
Yoga, yes, he taught himself yoga. That's how he can be Batman. Maybe they can do something with that getting drugged by Scarecrow, and that's how he ends up losing after. That could actually work, because I mentioned Scarecrow being the main villain in Chew. I think that could be good, actually. And you have the drug actually help him, like, making him become, like, insane for the third film. So that it isn't just like, oh, he just becomes insane because he lost half of his face, where it's actually like his mind starts getting like more and more corrupted. Maybe he gets addicted to the drug or something like that.
I think in most cases it's a case of a split personality where like, yeah, it's the whole thing with a dual soul face thing. Like,
oh yeah,
like,
there are a few interpretations I've seen of that, but I would prefer not to do dissociative identity disorder for Dent.
that's the sort of thing where like it teeters on the line where like you're sort of vilifying people with disorders and
Exactly,
that sort of stuff,
yeah,
where,
that's
like,
what I was gonna say, because there are a
like,
few there's a lot of stories that do that. Just being like, oh, you have the evil personality and the good, like Moon Knight did with fucking that third personality,
Yeah, like it hand waves a lot of the stuff away as like, oh, it's another personality, it's not half, he's fine.
Yeah, which is why I was really liking how Mark and Steven and Moon Knight were like, they weren't bad people and they were like similar to each other. But then they introduced the third one because they needed a tease for the second season at the end. Because fuck that finale. But yeah, it is. Or like how Mr. Robot has like, Mr. Robot as a in his mind. He's not like a bad person. He's just like another facet of himself, which is what Mr. Robot explores a lot, as he mentions in the show. Elliot mentions in the show, like, what is a mask when it stops being a mask, when it's as much a part of me as I am, and there's parts of him in Mr. Robot, there's parts of Mr. Robot in him. It's really interesting way to explore the idea that isn't just vilifying people who have that disorder.
Yeah, it'd be a good way to do that, but I feel like maybe moving away from the whole DID thing for Two-Face would be good. Like maybe introduce other outside parts that maybe push him over the edge.
Yeah,
that'd be a good way to update the story, I guess.
Yeah, I think it could be maybe isn't that he gets addicted to the drug, but maybe he gets like kidnapped by a Scarecrow when he keeps dosing him with the drug to try to get like information and shit, because he was working with the Batman closely throughout the second film, and as he uses the drug more and more, that causes Dent's mind to kind of like, him to lose his mind. I think that could work.
Yeah, definitely. Like, it could be to tie the sort of, be a good way to make the trilogy feel very cohesive and like very sort of like one cohesive line.
Yeah, because I would love a good version of Harvey Dent in live action that isn't just, oh, I went insane. So trying to actually explain it further and actually have him be a good guy for like a long time in the film could be good.
Yeah.
And I would love Aaron Eckhart to play a good Two-Face, because he's such a fantastic actor. Obviously, he wouldn't. I'm not saying that Matt Reeves is going to cast him into the same Dent again, but I think he deserves so much better.
There's plenty of choices, but like he was a brilliant choice for Two-Face.
Yeah, he was such a phenomenal actor in that film. Really underrated performance, because everyone mentions Heath Ledger, but he was really good. Which is better, Moon Knight or Loki? Moon Knight, easily.
Moon Knight.
Yeah, Loki's like the worst. One of the worst things I've ever seen. Only thing that rivals it's like Lucy and Multiverse of Madness. So
Let me break down why you should never go what's worse than the MCU, Loki or this. Loki fundamentally ruins everything in the MCU in the past and going forward forever.
Indeed.
You can't fix it with literally anything.
To be fair, Multiverse of Madness also did with the incursion rules, but Loki is worse because it's like taking away free will, whereas like canonically, whereas in Multiverse of Madness you already know that it's a plot hole, so you're just like, oh, okay, it's a contradiction. Who cares? It's gonna continue being contradicted.
Yeah, like remember, this is a universe that was built on characters making major
Yeah.
choices that they wouldn't normally do out of development.
Tommy Lee Jones is a
So-
good shoe face. So yeah, but I mean more like of a more serious interpretation of it.
Like he was a pretty good actor for it, but in terms of what he did as Two Face, is no, don't do that again, please.
And Strange blows up a replica of Wayne Manor that he is in. And Hugo Strange was killed, and that was that until. Okay, I think this is the last time that happens. It turns out.
Until
Strange
more yoga.
Until more yoga. His yoga made him.
He mastered the yoga so he could survive the explosion.
Yeah, yoga makes you immune to explosions if you do practice it long enough.
Until. Okay, I think this is the last time that happens. It turns out Strange.
Yeah, Kang is what breaks the entire MCU. Well, not only that, but you know, he's the main part once the retcon happens in the finale.
Actually used something called a mandroid to fake his own death.
Mandroid. Oh my god, they did the fucking Wedding of River song thing. Oh no.
Well, now I'm just imagining like him telling Batman to look into my eye.
Look into my eye.
As him doing a yoga pose.
It would be funny though if instead of be like, I just told you my name, like I just told you your name, because it's like, oh, I know your secret identity. And it's like, look at you, my eye. See, it's inverse. Wow, I'm such a good writer. Well done.
Yeah.
Mark Zuckerberg is Killer Croc. That would be a good casting a lizard to play a lizard.
Fancy that. Now he's coming back like a regular rogue, trying to take the place of Batman by defeating Bruce Wayne and failing. But this is all pre-Crisis Hugo Strange, which means it takes place before the 1986 DC Comics event, which rebooted the franchise named Crisis on Infinite Earths. Post-Crisis, we get a new Strange that's more in line with what I am interested in. This Strange is an evil psychologist who profiles Batman for the police, and becomes obsessed with discovering Batman's true secret identity.
Oh, okay. I would really like this for the second film then.
When he does eventually learn that Batman is Bruce Wayne, he tries to destroy Batman and take his place by slandering Batman to the press and even...
Oh yeah, that's what you said, Jeb. That could be done in the second film. So, that's
exactly.
Staging some crimes done by people in bat suits. This eventually fails, and oh look, here we are again. Strange falls into a river and dies, and that's the...
Why is it all red? Did he become Daredevil? It's kind of weird. It's because he bled on his suit and it was all red. He didn't learn the lesson from Deadpool.
end of that.
It was
Until
yoga.
he's
It was yoga. Yoga made his suit red.
back. And then he runs through various schemes that each attempt to kill Bruce Wayne and take his place. Then we have our second franchise-wide reboot, New 52, and nothing too interesting happens here. But the third franchise-wide reboot, Rebirth, has one more big Strange story up its sleeve. Hugo
Alright.
Strange goes back to his making big monster men roots. Strange then dresses up like Batman and forces Batman to prove that Strange is the better Batman. Then Strange explodes. I'm sure he's fine. I also want to bring up Strange's appearance in two
See, even Nando, someone, I guess, like fucking Shang-Chi and She-Hulk kind of just said how like diminishing returns of bringing back characters can be, which is interesting. But the MCU is gonna keep doing it, because why not?
other pieces of Bat media. Even though he has been in the animated series,
Bro, his head, it's kind of weird. It's fucking caved in. It's fucking wild.
he was in the Batman show that everyone kind of likes now. I mean, I think we all liked it, but now we're like, man, that show was good. And that theme song was fun. The Edge from U2, for some reason, is the guy who made that. I don't know. But two other pieces of media. First, Strange is the antagonist in Arkham City. Until he isn't. Honestly, it's quite a shame, because he built Arkham City, and the trailers suggested that Strange would be pulling the strings, but just when you get to Strange, he is killed by Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah.
Also, Joker's the real bad guy anyway, The story of that game is excellent, but I do think they
Excellent. I wouldn't know. I don't agree.
It's weird to go. That game is excellent, but here's why it's pretty bad.
Yeah,
Like-
it's kind of like these are kind of like foundational problems, I guess. It's like, oh, it's actually, oh, it's Hugo Strange. Actually, it's Ra's al Ghul. Actually, it's Joker. It's like kind of showing a bit of a problem there. I wouldn't say it's excellent either. Like just beyond that, Hugo's plan's kind of weird as fuck.
could have afforded to save Strange for Arkham Knight or something like that, since he's teamed up with Scarecrow in the past. And I also don't think Ra's al Ghul really needed to be in that game. It kind of felt weird. He was living in like the sewers underneath Arkham City, and
I mean, I don't think that's the issue, with Ra's al Ghul in that game. But alright.
like had a team of ninjas down there. It just felt like we were
Yeah, well, obviously he would. He's Ra's al Ghul. What do you think he's gonna have? Like a team of fucking accountants? Obviously he's gonna have fucking ninjas with him. Yeah.
I'm just imagining like a version of Ra's al Ghul where he has an army of Saul Goodmans.
So good. Everyone tries to talk to him. Did you know that you have rights? Constitution says you do. And the way to keep them from getting in is just making the monologues longer and longer. It's like, oh, you have to listen to the entire monologue before going in to meet Ra's al Ghul.
cramming all the Batman stories together, and it was like, this could be a different game. Anyway, and then
I agree.
B.D. Wong played Strange on Gotham. Honestly, I have not seen it, but I've heard good things. It seems like they went in the
His design is kind of weird. I don't think it fits BD Wong's face. I think he probably performs it really well, but like with this weird ass fucking beard and everything, like it looks off on his face.
Yeah, as I say, Gotham has some good things, but it's also held back by some other really bad shit in it. So yeah.
Yeah.
direction I would like to see here. Strange was the chief psychologist at Arkham, spent time psychoanalyzing the villains and getting under their skin, and he made monster men. I could see that kind of characterization working here. So
Me too, but I guess it depends on to what extent he means making monster men. Because I wouldn't like to see just like fucking, the Titans from Arkham Asylum and fucking, the Secret to the Batman.
Yeah.
I would probably like something that's more grounded. Like you make the monster men as in like, you kind of give them like like he gives them serums to, I guess, test like their state of minds, and they go like completely feral, I guess, in a sense where they go like like completely rabid, as opposed to making them become like super strong or super huge or anything like that. Like it's in a Bane kind of thing. It's more of a like a mental thing where you just they go completely, I guess. You could make them a bit stronger if you be like, oh, it's a surge of adrenaline, kind of like when a lot of stories do. It's like, oh, your character is just about to die, like an alien character, and so they drink a thing, and that gives them like this invulnerability for a while, and well, not invulnerability. They become super strong, and then they die.
What literally happens in the first Batman film when like he takes a shotgun blast to the chest and he
Oh yeah.
pulls up the adrenaline and pumps itself, and like he takes out the last Riddler goon.
Yeah, I was thinking of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season 5 with the Kree, but yeah, that is also true. They do that with in the Batman as well. So it wouldn't be like that far-fetched doing in this universe. Well, it wouldn't be far-fetched though even in R, because that's how adrenaline works. So
what are the essential characteristics of Hugo Strange? I believe he is best served as some sort of psychiatrist, perhaps at Arkham, who is obsessed with Batman. I love the motif of Strange dressing up like Batman and wanting to take his place. This is the one thing Giancarlo Esposito probably can't do, but I do.
Yeah, I think if you were to do that, you'd probably need someone that's physically more imposing than Giancarlo Esposito. I wonder who you could have for that. For like a version of Hugo Strange that is both like, I guess, like intellectually challenging, but also physically imposing.
Yeah, it'd be a good sort of like a way to establish he's a threat on both fronts. Where like
Yeah.
he could probably best match Batman in a fight, but also he can match his intellect.
Ooh,
it'd
Ethan
be a good
Hawke, I
sort of-
think, would be a good shout. I think Ethan Hawke.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen Black Phone, but his physique in that film is kind of impressive.
Yeah, he'd be a good choice for it. Yeah.
I guess, yeah, I think it could be really cool. But I agree. Not Giancarlo Esposito specifically for this, but it could be a good idea if you did that. I was gonna say Dan Stevens, but I don't want to be, Just saying that every time. I don't know. Good. Yeah, I think I'm happy with saying that my fan cast would be Ethan Hawke. Don't want to spend too long on this, but I do think it's interesting to think about.
I also like how he's now discounting Giancarlo Esposito, even though one of the reasons he mentioned Hugo Strange was because of Giancarlo Esposito.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I guess Josh Brolin could be good as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
he'd be a good choice, but I'm not. I feel like he'd be a bad choice. Maybe someone else. Maybe like. And not sure who he could really be, but I can't really fully see him as Strange. Like I can't really.
I guess he's not. He doesn't look like that, like intellectual. I guess.
Yeah, like he gives me more sort of like a more like a physically imposing one, where like his physique is more of his match against Batman
Right.
rather than his intellect.
Yeah, kind of get it.
Like I can see him as maybe like a Clayface or something.
Yeah. All right. Anyway.
Do you still think that's an idea for Strange in general? And then Strange loves to experiment on people and turn them into big monster men. Now, you may see some of those answers dangling here, but I do want to ask the question. Why is Hugo Strange the best villain for Bruce to face off against right now? First, let's talk about where Batman is. At the end of The Batman, Bruce decides to redefine himself. Instead of being vengeance, he's going to be a symbol of hope to inspire the people. I like a villain who can challenge that. Ask Bruce, is that really what you want? Force Bruce to figure out why he's being Batman. Because this Batman has been very reactive. Batman is a reaction to his parents' murder. But now that Bruce is done with vengeance for his parents, I think Bruce needs to figure out what he wants, why he is doing this.
Well, isn't that the point of that final scene in the Batman? That he's doing this to protect the city? To, like, keep people from, like, I guess having the same fate that he had with his parents? I thought that was kind of answered already in the first one.
And also the whole thing that, like, people can't always fear him. Like, they need, like, someone to know that someone's out there for him.
Yeah.
Like as like a symbol of hope. Like, it's a pretty easy idea to get. Like, just simply, like, that's... Gotham's a pretty shit place to be, so having someone to look up to, in a sense, would be pretty optimal for them.
Yeah, which is why, like, for me, it's already been answered. I wonder in what way you could ask it again, like, in a way that's new for what Nando's saying here.
Like, a bigger question isn't why he's doing it, it's how he's going to do it. Like, that sort of thing.
Yeah, because he already knows why, and he should now find a way of how to do it that achieves that reason, I guess.
Yeah, because like he already set out his main goal at the end of the last film. That's what the whole last rescue siege is for. It's to establish that he can be a symbol of hope. It's now a case of how is he going to do it? How is he going to be successful? That sort of thing. It isn't like why he's doing it. We already know.
Yeah. I think the answer of why we already know. It's kind of
And what he is trying to accomplish. Strange is a great villain here because he can literally ask Bruce that question. I could see a trailer, like the Arkham City trailer, narrated by Strange talking to Bruce, just asking him questions. Like, you say you want to be a symbol of hope. You want to move beyond vengeance. But what is the Batman, if not vengeance? Because this sequel needs to explore the relationship between Bruce and Batman. Throughout The Batman, characters commented on how Bruce is not doing enough as Bruce Wayne, not living a life, not giving back to the city. And it certainly seems like at the end of The Batman, Bruce has decided to put more work into being Bruce Wayne. So it would be...
What? When's that the case in the Batman?
I don't think it's really established because, like, if we're going to do that, then he would be there when, like, the mayor like gives her speech at the end. Like, I think the way I see it, it's more or less sort of. I wouldn't so much say implied, but I guess just it's something you can sort of get they would do at one point. They're gonna bring in more Bruce Wayne stuff. Like, it's. To me, it's something that doesn't really need to be sort of said out loud. It's something you can sort of get with the way they're going with things. How like, it's hard to put into words, but like,
because like for me the idea was that Bruce kind of realizes that he's like I guess isolating himself from the world and just like, oh, I gotta be Batman, and then by the end it's like actually kind of more open to, I guess, being Bruce because of his relationship with Catwoman. um but it's like when people say, oh, you're not doing enough, it's like he thinks he is doing enough by being Batman, but then he realizes that being Batman has actually had the opposite effect that he wanted, and that's how he has to kind of like learn that he actually isn't like making the city a better place, and he should change his way of acting in that. So I don't know if it's exactly about how like him being more open to being Bruce Wayne. I know.
It's more or less a case of actually trying to like. Well, the way I can see it is that he'd real. I think at some point in the second film he realized that like being Bruce Wayne can be helpful to the city and such, and that how he develops that Bruce Wayne persona, where like he puts on a much more philanthropist sort of face and like and uses it to help during the day and such. So like it'd be that sort of thing, but I don't think there'd be a scene where everyone says, "Oh, I need to be Bruce Wayne." It's a case of like probably by the time it happens, he's already doing it. That's at least what I think.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind if we got not obviously Bruce Wayne as Batman, but more Bruce Wayne's stuff, and that is used by Hugo Strange to work out who the Batman is, and it's revealed that he manipulated the Batman into doing this just so he could find out the identity and do the next phase of his plan. I wouldn't mind that as part of the story.
Uh-huh.
Be very fun to pit him against a villain who wants to use the Bruce Wayne against the Batman. Take this vulnerability and exploit it. And what better villain to independently ascertain Batman's identity than the first one to do it in the comics, Hugo Strange. But then the big reason I think Strange is a uniquely qualified figure to lead this outing. What threads are left to pull? What plot elements did the Batman set up that may be interesting to explore further? For me, it's all Arkham. First off, we already have Joker in there, and now Riddler. Something's gotta give. We need to look at what purpose Arkham serves and why.
So I guess if I were Nando, I would have waited for the Arkham show to make this video then, because this kind of seems like it's dependent a lot on how the Arkham show develops this world and like sets up things for future films.
It's very dependent on who they introduce in that show and how it goes about it, rather than just having it all focus on the Batman. Where like you need to like sort of factor in other sort of stuff, like what's the Penguin show gonna do? What's like any sort of potential stuff they're gonna do? Like
Yeah, I would say if you were gonna make this video, you should have at least said like, oh, this isn't just a pitch for the Batman show, but also the Arkham show to set up the Batman show. Just because I think it would have probably worked better considering what he's doing with Hugo Strange here.
Like if I win Nando, I would at least develop like a section maybe like before for pitch for Batman 2, like do like a sort of general pitch for the TV show, then onto Batman, because it's likely that show's gonna set up the next film.
Yeah, I agree.
And Strange can be driving that machine. Who else could keep Joker and Riddler in check? And perhaps when Strange is defeated in the end, maybe that gives Joker the opportunity to escape Arkham and make moves in the sequel. And yes, current Warner Brother executive, I know that you guys are currently developing multiple spin-offs that sometimes seem to morph into other ones. Like I know there was a Gotham PD one that might be the Penguin one now.
Yeah, it just changed. It's still in the pitching idea, show, Nando. It isn't just like project morphing into another. That's, you come up with an idea of a TV show, sometimes it changes. You come up with an idea for a film, like a first draft, sometimes very different from the last draft.
I mean, hell, like the Batman was originally a Batfleck film. It was going to be all about the DCU Batman, and then it gradually evolved into a reboot.
Yeah,
like shit changes.
Yeah, because the way he's saying it's kind of seems like he's I guess making fun of WB for changing their ideas. It's like no, it's still like in the pitching, like developing phase. It's not close to like being like the done yet. So.
And I think there was some sort of Arkham one, and who knows what that's going to be. And there may be an impulse to put Hugo Strange into the Arkham one, because he could work at Arkham.
Yeah, that's what you were saying, yeah.
Yeah, It'd make the most sense. If you're using Arkham in the second film, then it makes sense to have Hugo work at the Arkham TV show.
Yep.
In this pitch, he will. But the
Yeah.
thing with Hugo Strange is, unless Batman is in that story, I don't see a point.
No, you're setting him up. You don't need to have him be like a main player. You can have the entire story be set inside Arkham. You just have like mentions of Hugo Strange, or shows up a few times, but you kind of like, I guess, hide his real intentions, and then the Batman 2, you're like, oh, that guy who showed up in the show, that's what he was doing. You know, kind of like pulling
Like,
the
you don't need
strings
to
there.
reveal everything about him in his first introduction. Like, you can
Yeah,
do
you
it-
can have like Garrett showing up throughout season 1 of Agents of Shield. It's like, oh, it's showing up. He's a fun character, and then when you get to like the actual review, you're like, oh, that's why they were showing us Garrett throughout the season.
like sort of gradual breadcrumbs of like what's gonna happen with him, or like what he's planning, maybe, like that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of these Batman, Mr. Freeze or Catwoman
Fucking, it's jumped ahead. Fuck's sake.
is in that story, I don't see a point. A lot of these Batman villains, like Mr. Freeze or Catwoman or Penguin, exist independently of Batman. Mr. Freeze
Yeah.
just wants to steal diamonds and cure his wife. Batman gets in the way, he fights Batman, they have a relationship, but it comes from that. Hugo Strange is obsessed with Batman, he wants to take Batman's place, he is obsessed with Bruce Wayne. Like, the interesting things about
Oh, but you could still do that with the him being in the TV show. That's why you could make that the reason why he runs Arkham, is to be able to control all these villains that he can use to manipulate Batman. Like,
But surely he's not like that from birth. I mean,
from
what was
birth.
he like just
Or he just pops out he pops out his mother's womb and he's like, Batman, or something like that.
He's already wearing the glasses as a fucking neck beard.
And then he's sent to therapy because no one knows what the fuck he's on about.
Yeah, his first words is Batman, and he just keeps saying it for the first 10 years of his life.
about Hugo Strange are all about his relationship to Batman. So I think Hugo Strange would be pretty underserved if he's just the protagonist in this Arkham show.
But why would he be
No,
the protagonist?
it's
Nobody
not
said
the-
protagonist.
Like, if anything, the protagonist would be like Riddler or anything.
Yeah, if I were
he's
to
the
do it, I
he's the
probably-
newest one on the block. Or like,
Yeah, if I were gonna
a
do it, I'd
sort
probably
of
have
suggestion of,
Paul
like-
Dano being the protagonist, yeah.
you know, like all these new sort of extra sort of villains showing up, like Batman is per way, and then like in the background, like the very background, you occasionally see like the silhouette or shadow of Hugo Strange, and like you're wondering, oh, who is he? And then like you find out in like, but maybe like the last episode, oh, it's Hugo Strange, and he's planning this for Batman and all that stuff. Like, it's not a case of he's the main character. It's more a case of like, I hate to say it, but it's basically like what the Disney Plus shows are doing, where they tease and set up a villain, like, which pays off in the final episode. Like, basically that, but done well, and setting up for an actual film.
Or just it's kind of like that horror trope of like, you're gonna have in this asylum, it's like you have a few characters gonna be like, oh, you know, the head of Arkham is calling you, and he calls a fucking patient, and then you never see that character again. You're like, wait, what's happening? Like, that keeps happening throughout the show. Or a few of them come back, but they're kind of like rat order or some shit, and you realize at the end it's like, oh, it's Hugo Strange. He's setting up a plan with a few of the villains in Arkham, and that's why he has Arkham, to be able to get these villains and work together with them to create plans to, you know, be a foil to Batman.
Yeah.
You don't actually have to make him the protagonist. Like, you could have that be like an underlying narrative that sets up the second film, while actually having the plot of the actual show happening with other characters. Ideally, with Riddler being the protagonist. That's how I would do it.
Yeah, that's how I do it. Yeah.
And never interacts with Batman in a meaningful way. And I imagine Robert Pattinson Batman is not going to be in this show. But my favorite detail about Arkham in The Batman is something I don't think I've ever seen handled this way in other Bat media. Bruce's mother, Martha, was in Arkham. She's from one of the great families of Gotham, like the Waynes. And Bruce's mother apparently had some sort of breakdown that forced her to be institutionalized.
Yeah, I really like that idea of her and the Arkhams and everything. I thought that was a really cool way to go about his backstory.
What sort of breakdown? Unclear. And we can figure that out. I just think that this Martha Arkham plotline is too interesting to not be explored in a The Batman movie.
Well, it would be. It was really set up, like, even with the fucking post credits with the Riddler. You know, that you could go to the
Like,
fucking
there's
website
obviously
and
going to be
everything.
more with that. There's going to be more
Yeah.
with him as well.
Yeah, it really seems like there's more to do with the
And
Wings.
even the Joker line, Gotham loves a comeback story, so
Yeah.
they're obviously going to bring Riddler back at some point.
Yeah. Probably not the second film, but yeah.
Now, let's be super clear here. This movie's tricky. Any modern Batman movie that dives into the psyches of his characters is difficult to write. You don't want the mentally ill to be characterized as evil in every situation. Sure, some of the villains like Riddler or Joker or even Strange exhibit obsessive tendencies, and there really aren't any Batman villains without some sort of mental health related issue. It comes up a lot, usually because of Arkham. So if we throw in other villains who are characterized as dangerous because they're mentally ill, you maybe want to look at that idea and use this movie to break that down. Why are they treated that way? And how are the real villains in society using them to get what they want? It would need to be handled by someone smarter than I am, but again, this is the pitch, big picture. The details are where you need a professional to get this right, but I believe it can be done, especially if the real monster is always Hugo Strange. But okay, that's the explanation. Here's what the movie would look like. I'm thinking we start a few years later. Batman rescued everyone from the floods. He is seen as a hero.
I probably won't make it a few years. They'll probably make it
I think
1
a
year
few years
later.
later, but like, I'd probably make it like a year or so. Like maybe like, ideally, like my sort of dream sort of setting would be like in winter, but like that'd be either that would be right after the first film or be like a year afterwards. And like, part of me still wants a bit of like the city to be flooded, so like. It's a tricky thing to work out with specific pictures because like if it was like Mr. Freeze and like yeah I'd want it like at winter, but like if we're doing Hero Strange then I'd probably say maybe I don't want to say October again because the first one already did the Halloween theme, so like fuck. But at least a year would be the best because like he's still working out the whole how to be hopeful and he can still relapse in sometimes. Like it's the most optimal sort of time frame to set the film.
Yeah, I would say a year. I think if you do like a few years, it would like you're missing a lot of the world building development off screen, and if you have Batman be so different from the first film, it's gonna be feel a lot, very cheap because even though he had the ending of his arc in that film, like he still needs to change a lot to achieve like the version of himself that he wants to be. So I wouldn't skip all that.
Like one of the big sort of selling points of this one is that he's a younger Batman. He's like the young Batman, like the one who's still figuring stuff out. And if you have him figure stuff out off screen, it kind of takes away from the sort of the draw of this Batman. Like you're seeing him become the Batman with it that will be his truest best potential.
Yeah.
And if you do it off screen, then you're missing out.
Yeah, I agree.
And has made some collars and new enemies since then. At the same time, Bruce Wayne has made more of an effort to get involved, helping the mayor, philanthropy, advocacy. He's doing pretty well. And one of the organizations he is championing is a rehabilitation of Arkham Asylum. Make it more friendly, focused on healing. After all, his mom's name is on the building. This should be important to Bruce. He can be there at some ceremony, giving a speech, saying like,
Why did they show this shot of Harvey? He's whatever.
years ago.
Because like a press release or something.
No, yeah, but the isn't there a moment where Bruce Wayne is interviewed in the trilogy? Sure, there is.
I know, but I'm just like you could have used like a clip from like, the Telltale series where like there's literally a scene of Bruce in front of a press crowd rehabilitating Arkham Asylum.
Well, that probably would have been a perfect clip to use, but alas, he might not even know about it. To be fair, Telltale's
probably.
games on the
Exposed my family's dark secret. My mother had a breakdown and was institutionalized here at Arkham Asylum. It was something my father was ashamed of, enough to work with terrible people to cover up.
Nando's delivery here kind of sounds like fucking Joker. Like they revealed the secret, and you know my father he got mad. Fuck's sake. My dad doesn't like that, not one bit.
We all were. My mother was in crisis, and she needed somewhere where she could be treated with compassion. And we need to build a society where someone can get the help they need without showing up on the front.
The frame rate of these Dark Knight clips are off.
front page of the Gazette. That's why I am working with my great uncle Jeremiah Arkham and Warden Quincy Sharp to turn Arkham into a place Gotham City can be proud of. He gets some questions. What about the Riddler? Can he be reformed? I don't think anyone is beyond saving. I'm sure they will try their hardest to reach
Nando
Mr.
was the
Nash.
Joker.
And then someone else says, what about the Batman? This is, what about him? You guys making a special cell for him where he can hang upside down? I think that's enough questions for today. Thank you all so much. And then he...
It's a bit on the nose. I get it. It's only a pitch, Nando. I'm not gonna be too harsh, but I think you would probably need to rework the ending bit of having me maybe be uncomfortable, but he actually answers the question because he would look less suspicious.
If anything, like he should like. How I do it is it'd be like one of the last questions, but like he sort of waves it off as like a, gives the same answer that maybe like a sort of, like I guess like a non-answer that he isn't. Basically, trying to not draw attention to the fact that he could be Batman.
Yeah, he could have just said,
maybe,
oh, what about the Batman? Do you have a special cell for him? And Bruce just says, like I said, I don't think anyone is beyond saving. And it's kind of...
And he picks another question. Then they ask about, say, like the Joker or something. Like add a bit of world building to it as well. Like
yeah, so like you could actually have that bit of character from him, but he doesn't seem so suspicious by just be like, oh, what about the Batman? It's like, oh, a piece, I'm out. Fuck that, not answering that.
You guys say, "Oh my god, I know who he is."
Yeah, he's the only one who figures it out. Everybody meets Batman. He's like, dude, really? Did you think nobody would notice? That'd be hilarious. It's like fucking it's that scene in the Flash season 8 where the fucking police chief figures out who Barry is. I'm like, oh, thank Christ, you actually paid attention to his voice and like his head shape. And it's like, oh no, it's because he fucking ran to get it's because he survived the fucking blast explosion, which wasn't even tied to him being the Flash, because he explained that the Flash saved. It's so stupid. I don't. That episode is dumb. But it's actually the best episode of season 8. It's the Goldface one. Anyway, getting off topic here.
Leaves, and we see, watching the conference from his office, the head psychiatrist, Hugo Strange. He pauses his live stream of the event and stares at Bruce, perplexed, but forming an idea. As Batman, Bruce is dealing with the Gotham crime. He takes down some thugs, and as he's cuffing one of them, they mention that they don't want to go back to Arkham. It's a nightmare in there. Bruce doesn't think too much of it, but, he is concerned. The next day, Bruce meets with new district attorney Harvey Dent to...
Alright, I'm liking this already. Introducing Harvey. Please don't make him Two-Face yet, Nando. I believe in you.
On some proposals for prison reform, specifically looking at Arkham. Bruce is getting some pushback from inside of Arkham and he can't figure out how to move forward. You gotta introduce Harvey here, even if he doesn't go Two-Face in this movie or even the next one.
Yes, thank you.
It's so much fun to build that relationship.
Yes, thank you, Nando. I agree. Yes, that's what I've been championing for. I want him to actually become friends with Bruce and like take a while from actually being a good guy that's trying to help the city before he becomes Harvey. And before he becomes Two-Face. He's always been Harvey.
Yeah, like... I know that Batman 2 isn't that good, but one thing that I feel like it did well with Harvey was that he was Harvey for like a good few episodes before he turned into Two-Face. So have him around for maybe like a movie or two, and then like have the acid thing happen, and then like have him slowly just sort of snap over the course of it. Like that would be the best way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Between Harvey, knowing that it's eventually going to turn into a tragic rivalry. I think you could make the case that Two-Face is the second best Batman villain behind Kite Man, and I think
Kite Man. I think it's hard to pick like a best Batman villain other than Joker.
The vanilla answer is obviously Joker. He's the obvious one, I suppose. But everyone else, like it's hard to sort of pick for another one.
Yeah, because I think there are a lot of good choices. I think it just depends on how you do it. I don't think you can choose like second best.
It depends on your execution or what your preference for a Batman villain is.
Yeah, like what aspect of Batman do you want to explore, and each Batman villain can explore that in a very meaningful way, which is something that I think DC does so much better with its villains than Marvel. With just being like, you have this rogues gallery of actually really interesting villains that not only have character on their own but explore the main characters like complexities in a very meaningful way.
Like it's like a case of where you have them on their own, they're pretty sort of all right, I suppose, but you're pairing with Batman and his sort of
Yeah.
very deep psychology, and then you get something really good there.
Yeah, which is why I don't really like the idea of building a DCU with that kind of rogues gallery like they were doing with the BVS. So it's like have Jared Leto Joker. Like with the world that they're gods, or fucking they fought Doomsday, having fucking Captain Boomerang and Joker in this universe. I kind of feel like
Like,
these are never going
the
to
thing with that
actually be
is-
threats because you have
thing
heroes
with
that
that
can
is they
take them
should have
down in
started-
seconds.
It should have started off with those smaller villains and then
Yeah.
build up to the big ones.
Yeah, you should have,
That's
like,
that's how you should do it.
Yeah, you should have you should have I think the first film in the DCU should be a Batman film. Maybe there are a couple Batman films that kind of set up like that the universe might be a bit bigger. You introduce Superman as the threats start to get like bigger. I guess you could introduce Flash first with the particle accelerator, because then that introduces other metahumans, and so that's why you need Flash, a metahuman as well, to work with Batman, and then you introduce Superman, because now that you have metahumans and actually have like villains that are on par with like the power level or Superman, or maybe not on par, but bit lower, and then you actually introduce like the Superman level villains like Doomsday and everything, because then it's like a gradual escalation. It doesn't feel like the stakes. It's like you're not gonna have stakes, because when you're watching fucking Aquaman or some shit like that, it's like, oh, where's Superman? Where's Wonder Woman? It's like these characters should be in this universe.
It's why I prefer the sort of more solo universes. You don't have to worry about the wider heroes wondering where the fuck they are. Like, it's a double-edged sword, cinematic universes. And they can be good for storytelling opportunities, but they're also like you have to do a lot of accounting for.
Yeah. Which is why it's something that's hard and should be planned for properly, and not done what what DC or Marvel did after Avengers 2012. Yeah.
Yeah.
Harvey Dent is the glue that holds the Dark Knight together. Sure, Heath Ledger's Joker is amazing, but Aaron Eckhart's Dent is so confident and principled, you totally believe he is all in on being a good guy and fixing Gotham.
Until he isn't, because yes.
That movie does not work without him. And I think one thing we can add here is have Harvey Dent and Bruce Wayne get along. No love triangle, no Bruce.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I agree. You shouldn't have. It's like there's that one scene with him, Gordon, and Dent on the rooftop, and I kind of like that scene. It's kind of neat to have these three like different perspectives on how to actually help the city, and they kind of butt heads and whatnot. But I think it's a better idea to have them actually like get along really well, and rather than just be like there are these foes, and it's like, oh, you fucked this over, you did everything wrong, and now Rachel's dead. It's like, no, have them actually be friends first and actually agree on things, and then you kind of make the story even more tragic by once the downfall happens. And also don't have Rachel fucking just
Yeah,
don't.
don't only love interest type one for like Bruce or something in this trilogy is just Catwoman. Like that, like even then they don't have to end up together. They just have her. No other side ones to cause love triangles and shit. Like it just no.
I think the most what I would do is introduce like a few characters that you have in the comics that do get with Batman, but it's like it never lasts.
Like maybe like do like Mask of a Phantasm, introduce like Andrea Beaumont, like an old friend of his, but like she goes away, and maybe like as like a setup for another villain or something, or like.
Well, I think the idea
introduce-
for me would be just like to show how Bruce is so detached from these relationships that he finds it hard to maintain one. And so you have like, oh, he has one night stands and shit like that, but he can't actually like form relationships. Not doing it on like a Playboy Bale way, but doing it in like a, he just he's Robert
I
Pattinson.
guess,
He's
like-
gonna attract women, but he can't like make it the
obviously.
relationships last. Yeah.
I guess for me, I sort of see it as like do it sort of like a Playboy thing, but have it be a bit more like a tragic, depressing version of it, where like on the outside it looks like he's this Playboy, but on the inside he's like he can't form attachments. He's just always alone and stuff.
And just kind of
so,
doing
like,
it just kind of like get his mind
it's
off of
basically
the
just to put
Batman
on a
stuff.
face, like put on like this persona that he's this wild Playboy.
Right.
Like it's nothing for him. So like that'd be good. That'd be good to explore.
Could be interesting, but I think it'd take a while to develop that, considering
Yeah, like-
how emo he was in the first film.
Yeah.
Pretending to be a playboy. At this point, Harvey and Bruce both see in each other a genuine passion for Gotham and justice. So they get along. Maybe they go out and get drinks. I don't know. It's been so long. What do people do together for fun? Like backgammon? Some of that. But
Backgammon.
Harvey does say that one name keeps coming up when he asks about Gotham. Hugo Strange. Next night, we get some Batmaning. And there are reports of well, this can't be right, some sort of Batman. But Bruce is not anywhere near the Gotham Observatory. It must be a mistake. Or maybe some kids dressed up as Batman. Happens every so often. But then Batman hears on the radio 2 cops talking about this Batman, and they get massacred. So Bruce goes to check it out. And that's where we get introduced to our first bad guy, Man-Bat. Why not? He's fun. Big old Man-Bat guy. He's terrifying. He could set up a fun aerial fight.
I guess, but I think that's a bit too much into the second film. I wouldn't want to be that fantastical at first.
Like, again, I say like someone like Mr. Freeze would be like the best sort of way to like introduce some more fantastical stuff, and like Man-Bat would be like tying his origin to Hugo Strange is odd because you've played Arkham Knight, right, and you know like his sort of origin story with like how his wife, how he's trying to find a cure with bat blood, and then he accidentally kills and all that stuff. How it's like very tragic, whereas he's just an experiment. It just it takes away a bit of the tragedy from it. If well, at least from what we know now, he could bring in like the other stuff later, but Man-Bat sort of works better on his own as like a sort of side villain or like a one-off. Like,
I feel like it would be a bit of a waste of Man-Bat. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a weird to use him in the second film. We'll see. Maybe Nando does develop this into a better idea. I just don't like the concept as of now, but we'll see. Who knows?
Scene. Hopefully, Bruce has upped his game since that time he crashed face first into a bridge and then broke every bone in his body. I mean, hit his head and got some bruises. He doesn't need to be Iron Man, but some high-flying action is always fun. Bruce has a tussle with Man-Bat, but Man-Bat wrecks his equipment, like a glider, grappling hook, wingsuit, whatever, and Man-Bat escapes. Bruce does not have any clues to who or what this creature is, except he did manage to pull something off the creature's ankle, a medical tag.
I would love a Man-Bat, if you were to do it, I would love a Man-Bat jump scare like in Arkham Knight. Just to like paying homage to that game, but also to just be like, actually do that in live action. I think would be so cool.
The sort of idea has got is like maybe like a one-off scene where Bruce is gliding across patrol and then he like glides up to a rooftop and the next thing, bam!
Bam!
You absolutely, you get scared the shit out of it.
Yeah, because that jump scare in Arkham Knight, it always gets me, and I love it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's like one of the perfect uses of like a horror sort of jump scare for like a Batman villain, just like out of nowhere, then you just wonder what the hell was that, then it flies off.
Yeah, and it's obviously the theme of the game that's so like focused on fear. I think it really works that well there, which I think could be a good way as well to do it with him in a film with Scarecrow.
Yeah, I was gonna say like him like. Because, like, Bruce's whole thing is he fears that Batman's going to take over at some point, or at least some point in his career. That would be a good theme to explore, and having Man-Bat literally as, like, another antagonist along with Scarecrow would be a good sort of way to explore that.
Patient named R. Langstrom, and Bruce turns the tag over to reveal that Langstrom came from Arkham Asylum. Bruce is confused. Arkham doesn't have metahumans like this. He talks to Alfred about it, who tells Bruce that there isn't much he can do about it during the day. Besides, bats are nocturnal, so he probably won't be seeing this Man-Bat until tomorrow night anyway. But Bruce Wayne could certainly pay Arkham a visit as a concerned citizen / benefactor the next day.
That could work well to introduce to actually ease Bruce into like actually being more active as Bruce. To be like, oh, you got to do this investigation as Bruce. You can't do it. You can't wait for tomorrow night. Like, this could actually help you if you go there as Bruce. Which is why I agree with this idea of like him wanting to rebuild Arkham and change it or whatnot, having that press conference, but actually having him be, I guess, a bit of still a bit nervous, like shy in front of cameras and shit like that. I think that could work well to ease him into becoming.
That's my sort of that's like an idea I have for him and Harvey's relationship, where Bruce is still sort of like, I guess, more introverted and Harvey's like extroverted. Yeah. So like it's like a nice little dynamic for that.
Yeah.
Like
it could work well to build their relationship.
Because Bruce has been like, hiding away from people for like years and years, so he isn't gonna suddenly come out and be like completely nailing the extrovert persona that he puts on. Like he's still gonna be a bit awkward.
Yeah.
Bruce visits Arkham, talks to Warden Sharp about some plans for the
Warden Sharp is fucking. I get why he's doing this because he needed footage of Robert Pattinson Tenet, but I don't think Quincy Sharp's gonna be played by him. I'm afraid.
innovation, and during his tour of the new wing, they run into Hugo Strange. Sharp introduces Strange, a world-renowned psychologist who joined Arkham a couple of years back, to help analyze some of the supervillains like Joker and Riddler. Bruce recognizes the name and can tell something is off with Strange. Strange gives Bruce his business card, says if Bruce has any questions about the asylum to give Strange a call. And Bruce notices some papers in Strange's hands, files for different patients, and the one on top is for an R. Langstrom. Now Bruce knows Strange is involved, so he plans...
This seems a bit too... Unless this is
Convenient.
unless this is part of Strange's plan to actually tell Bruce, or to actually, I guess, verify that Bruce is Batman. I think that could be a good way to do it subtly, where Hugo pretends to just like do that on accident, but then it actually is like, oh, he wants to know that Bruce is Batman. The only way that he would know who, like that identity as Batman would be if they were the same. So that could be a good way to, like, I guess, bait him. So we'll see how Nando develops this. Otherwise, I think this is like mighty convenient.
to sneak later that night to see what he can dig up. Later that day, Bruce gets dinner with Harvey to talk about this, but Harvey brings an old friend from law school, a woman named Silver St. Cloud. Harvey is trying to set Bruce and Silver up. Neither is thrilled, and Bruce is busy, so he needs to brush Silver off. Harvey assumes Bruce left because he felt ambushed and feels bad. So now that tension is different. This Bruce Wayne does want to be Bruce Wayne and Batman, but he can't do both things at once. Before, we just had a Bruce Wayne who had given up on Bruce Wayne, 100% in on Batman. This one's not quite there, and we don't need...
Yeah, I guess it could work if you're like trying to make efforts to be more Bruce, but Batman life keeps interrupting him. I think that could work well. So what you said, right, Tin, about being like, oh, it's sometimes like being worried that the Batman life is gonna take over him. It's kind of that same concept. Go on, Tin.
Okay.
10.
Oh yeah. Like I was gonna say, like it's sort of a concept that's been done before. Like I guess in like Batman v Superman and Batman Forever, where like the bat becomes like a physical manifestation, which like he sees in nightmares and such, where like he fears it's gonna completely take over his life, and like Bruce Wayne's just gonna become like sort of like he was in the first of the Batman, where he's like an afterthought, where like he's just a means to an end.
Yeah.
But when he's actually trying to be Bruce Wayne, actually trying to get his life back on track, next thing you know, the Batman is just sort of seeping back in and taking away any chance he has. And like, the way someone do it is like he wants for both lives to work in tandem, but like one keeps on screwing over the other, so it's hard to get a grasp on how to do it for him. Which would be good for like a second film when like he's trying to focus more on trying to balance how he's going to do things.
I think could be a good Harvey then to match Pattinson. Perhaps one of the other actors were in the running to play Bruce Wayne in the first film. I would love Bob Odenkirk, but I think he's a bit too old to keep in like a franchise that's long lasting. So my ideal casting is Dan Stevens. And I'm not joking, I've thought about this a lot. I've talked to CV about it as well. I think it would be perfect because he can play both Harveys perfectly, the maniacal version, but also like the charming, friendly, like extroverted version really well. I think he would be perfect. So yeah, him.
Like I guess like the sort of fan casting I've thought about, because like I also fan cast him as Constantine, but Oliver Jackson Cohen would be a good Harvey Dent if you ask me.
Oh yeah, CV also mentioned him as well. Oliver Jackson Cohen would be amazing as a Dent. Yeah. Everyone can fan cast him as Constantine because, well, he has the exact look
I see him
for
as
the
like
comics.
like Matt Ryan is like the perfect Constantine sort of casting. Like he's just perfect. But if we want to go for like a more cinematic reboot, Oliver Jackson Cohen is just perfect. Like honest to God, him as Peter Quint, just in a long trench coat with like a cigarette in his mouth. Boom, Constantine.
We haven't seen Hill House yet. I just realized that. We gotta.
Yeah, like because
He's also
he does a pretty good American accent in that, right?
Yeah, he fantastic. I didn't know he was British until I watched Fly.
Yeah, so he can nail that part. So it's honestly pretty good casting.
Yeah. Yeah, we gotta watch. I've completely forgot we hadn't watched it. All right, I'll try to remember so we can start watching at some point.
Need to see Silver St. Cloud again. That is just a pretty obscure Batman love interest who I think is fun to bring up here. The last time I heard about her was in that comic where they fought Elmer Fudd. That night, Bruce sneaks into the office of Hugo Strange, has a conversation over his headset with Alfred that he wouldn't normally break into confidential patient information like this, but he doesn't have a choice. Plus, Langstrom is in danger, and Alfred
This seems like a conversation Tony Stark would have with Jarvis or something like that. It doesn't feel like this Batman. You're like, see, I normally wouldn't do this, but
Like,
I guess you could have like
whole total-
Alfred telling him like, "You sure you want to do this?" And where Bruce is like, "I have to. I have no other choice." If you have Alfred do most of the talking, I think that could be better than actually having Batman be the one to say it. I guess.
yeah, because like the thing with Batman and like in the first film, like he's not very much of a talker. He very much like acts with his facial movements and such. Like he doesn't really. He says stuff. Like he's very much focused on like getting every detail as possible and not like maybe blowing his cover or like or just having to fuck up by talking or something or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
He's very much like I guess the way I can put it, he's the introvert Batman.
Yeah.
is monitoring police scanners to see if he hears any chatter about this man-bat. This is where things get interesting. Bruce sneaks in through the open window, finds a file on Strange's desk, looks into it a little bit, learns that Langstrom was a scientist working on a cure for deafness that used bat DNA. Finds out Langstrom has a childhood home he talks about a lot in therapy, and as Bruce leaves, we see that he has been watched the entire time by a camera in the office.
That seems really sloppy of Bruce to do. I think
surely
Bruce would
he
be
would,
way
like-
more. I think Bruce would be way more
mean-
cautious about that.
I mean, in the sort of Bruce Wayne scene in the first film, he straight up looks at the camera like shit. Am I fucked? When he looks up at the camera, like
Yeah.
he would be wary of security cameras.
Yeah, I think it's very out of character for Bruce to just not look into like cameras and shit like that. Like you probably get like a fucking plans for the design of Arkham to know where cameras are set, so that he could know how to infiltrate better. I think the way you could do it is to have like cameras that aren't in those plans like hidden, and that's because Hugo Strange planned all this to actually lure Batman here to see if it is Bruce. So it all depends on that. If Hugo has staged this shit, and it's all like, oh, it's a security camera just out there, is security cameras that are hidden and trying to Hugo is trying to just confirm his theory of Bruce being Batman. I think that would work better.
So Bruce tracks down the abandoned house on the outskirts of Gotham and finds Man-Bat. At this point, Langstrom is turning back from bat to man. It's disgusting. His body is not taking the transformation well. He's having serious heart palpitations. Langstrom asks Batman for help and says some sort of cryptic something before he dies in Batman's arms. I haven't figured it out yet, but it'll come into play later. Gordon arrives minutes later, because Bruce called him, and Gordon and Bruce talk about Langstrom. He's being treated at Arkham for some sort of psychosis, but something must have been going on. Gordon tells Batman that, yeah, Arkham has a history of corruption going back to its founding, but never anything like this. How was Langstrom even able to do his experiments while in Arkham? Like, I guess maybe he escaped and went to his lab, but why leave the Arkham tag on his ankle at all? The first thing you do is rip that off. Something is rotten at Arkham.
Yeah, it's the idea is definitely gonna be that he's luring that it's Hugo Strange's stage this to lure Batman. So yeah, if it is that way, then I agree, Nando. This is a pretty interesting pitch.
And Bruce and Gordon are going to figure out what. The next day, Gordon goes to Arkham himself to investigate Langstrom. He does some research and finds that Langstrom was
Jab, are you okay?
Yeah.
Good.
reported
I'm
missing
making
3
tribal chants.
You're making what?
Tribal chants.
Oh, okay.
days ago, but somehow the police department was not notified of this. Suspicious.
Wait. I think I missed a beat here. Hold on.
Langstrom was reported missing 3 days ago, but somehow the police department was not notified of this. Suspicious. Warden Sharp assures Gordon that it was all misunderstanding. Gordon asks
John David Washington as the fucking Quincy Sharp seems like such a weird casting to me. I can't take it seriously when he shows him from the visual. Just show him the Quincy Sharp from the Arkham games, like surely. That's
Yeah,
better.
like, I don't imagine Quincy Sharp as like this good-looking younger guy. I imagine him as this old, frumpy sort of looking guy who's like barely holding himself together. That sort of look.
Could be fun.
not this-
It could be funny if you have Bob Odenkirk as Quincy Sharp. I think it could be fun casting. I would like that. I would like it'd be less Saul Goodman and more like the character he plays in Fargo season 1, which is basically Saul Goodman but like retarded. So I think that could be fun.
Asks
That'd be a good
Strange
show.
what he knew about Langstrom. Strange tells Gordon, I can't get into too much detail. I'm sure you understand. I will say, Langstrom is a very troubled man, but a talented biologist. Suffered from schizophrenic episodes related to bats. I think he believed through some sort of genetic augmentation he could become one. Can't imagine where he got that idea. Accusing Gordon of working too
You need to rework that dialogue. Again, it's a pitch. I'm not going to be too harsh, but that dialogue is way too on the nose because the point is he's like letting this, he's letting it slip these details because obviously these are confidential. He wouldn't want you to release them, and Hugo Strange is like pretending, oh, I don't want to tell you, but he actually ends up like slipping up. He would need to do it in a way where it's more subtle. That he's doing it, whereas rather than just like outright saying it. So rework the dialogue. I like the idea though.
closely with Batman. That night, Batman follows up with Strange, goes to his office again to look for clues to what Strange is really up to. And this is where Batman and Strange first meet. This is a super important scene. Strange has a device that makes a high-pitched sound which scrambles recording hardware, so Batman cannot record the conversation, and Batman is disconnected from Alfred.
What? I don't think a high-pitched thing can like disconnect him from Alfred. Because he obviously has the cameras in his fucking whatchamacallit?
It's contact lenses.
Contact lenses, yeah. So you need some sort of like EMP or something like that to turn it off, I guess. That'd probably be how I do it. I wouldn't do like a high pitched whatever. Probably EMP is the best shout for this.
And tells Batman the whole thing. You freed Langstrom. Why? I needed something to get your attention. Not everyone has a fancy bat signal. Some of us need to improvise. Well, now you have.
He chose a good clip there from Giancarlo. Well done, Nando. This is actually not a bad video. Nando's kind of hit or miss, but I like this video.
Me. What do you want? To talk. You know, Batman, I'm from Gotham. Grew up a block from Robinson Park. And when I got my doctorate, I came right back here. Worked at Arkham. In fact, one of my first patients was Martha Wayne, going through a terrible spell. Full mental breakdown. I'm sure you saw it was in all the papers thanks to the Riddler. But that's not the whole story. She was delusional. Believed she was an angel sent to rid the world of evil, the poor woman. She was heavily medicated and sent on her way, but I never forgot Martha Wayne. And neither did you. What are you saying? Give me a break. You can't expect me to believe I'm the
I think you just have to do. Neither did you, Bruce. You don't need to do this like cat and mouse play. I think it would be much more power play to just say, neither did you, Bruce. That's just how I would write the dialogue there. Oh, they delayed the Craven the Hunter film.
Oh no.
October
Oh,
6th.
that.
October 6th, 2023.
Oh no.
My favorite film. To be fair, I like Aaron Taylor-Johnson, but you know, not gonna be a good film. Anyway,
first
Not
person who
that film.
figured it out. Bruce. How? I saw in you what I saw long ago in her.
I also don't think Batman would say how. I think he would be silent, and then Hugo would
He'd be trying
explain.
to deny it.
No, I
He'd
think
be
he-
trying to like play it off.
I think he would be like kind of shocked. I don't think he would deny it. I think it's in the same way where Riddler was like Bruce Wayne. I think Batman would be kind of like shell shocked and he wouldn't say anything. And then Hugo would continue, would explain how he found out, like on his own volition, as opposed to Batman asking how. Again, it's just like small tweaks for the scene that, like as he said, like a professional writer would do, as opposed to what he's doing. Anyway, this is more like you're trying to improve on his pitch, but I think overall the idea that Nando's trying to make here is actually a good sequel idea for the Batman.
The delusion. But this is another level. When? I had my suspicions, but I wasn't sure until the press conference. What I can't understand is the why. I fight to keep the streets safe so no one will have to suffer the same fate as I did. Sure, that's the simple answer, but why? Why the cape, the pointy ears, the symbol? It's a lot of choices, Bruce. If you tell people who I am and ruin this fascinating example of psychosis in action, oh, no.
Oh, that's a good line. I like that. That he like what you. I guess he finds it fascinating how Bruce's mind works. It's like how he constructed this entire persona of the Batman to, I guess, fight his trauma, and he doesn't want to reveal it so it doesn't ruin like it's studying Bruce. I think that's a really cool concept. I like that, Nando.
Then what do I want to learn? Who are you? Really? With some tests. Tests? Yes, you see, after the Langstrom breakout, I recommended we transfer some of our more dangerous patients to Blackgate until we could ensure their safety here. I think your friend Gordon even volunteered to lead the transfer.
Oh,
What?
shit.
He didn't tell you? Must want to keep his distance. It's a shame because when I deactivate this silencer, you'll be getting a call from your assistant telling you that there has been a terrible accident and
Oh,
3 of the
shit.
most dangerous criminals in Gotham have escaped. All you need to do is find them. Why are you doing this? Consider me curious. Why is the Batman? You won't tell me the truth. I'm not even sure you know yourself.
Okay, that dialogue's a bit on the nose, but I like this concept. Like putting guard in harm's way, like having the plan like be executed as they're talking. That's all really cool ideas. Really like this. Well done. Oh, hey, Madvocate. Nando's Batman shoe pitch is actually pretty good so far. Other than like some dialogue choices that I think he needs to like rework, redraft. I think this is actually a really cool concept for a story. Color me impressed.
And I have a feeling you will show me the escaped patients. You want my files? Of course. I made you copies. Bruce gets ready to exit. Once I stop them, I'm coming for you. You know where to find me. And then Batman leaves. And this is the movie. Bruce does not have any information that can tie Strange directly to the breakout.
And so he's trying to get away to prove that Hugo Strange is guilty. That is a cool story to do. Of someone he knows is guilty, but he can't prove it. I think it's just a really cool concept as well. Very Batman. Very Batman. Because it is about his, his choice to not wanting to kill people. Because if he didn't have a no-kill rule, he would just fuck him up and whatever. He's dead. But obviously because he does, he needs to prove it and work within the legal system. And that pushes him to his limits. So that's a cool concept.
Yeah.
Way too on the nose. Did not like that. Yeah. I understood that reference, man.
So he needs to catch the escaped patients as well as figure out what Strange is really up to. But Batman cannot let Strange off the hook. And since Gordon ends up hospitalized after the breakout, Batman is forced to call on Harvey to help him stop Strange. And this is the first time Batman and Harvey have met or spoken. But Batman explains the situation to Harvey, and Harvey is in. He's going to do his best to figure out what is going on at Arkham and see if he can pin this on Strange. So what...
Yeah, I like that as well. Of having that duo like relationship with Harvey, one with Batman that is like very much more professional. You have that friendship between Harvey and Bruce, because you can also build on that to make a reveal on a later film that he has been hiding his identity from Harvey, and how that could lead to like a falling out between them, and probably help as well with Harvey's return to Two-Face.
Yeah.
patients do I want to use? I have a few. And in keeping with Strange's goal of psychoanalyzing Batman, they each represent some part of Batman that Strange is curious about.
Yes,
He
of course.
assumes that by forcing Batman to confront these people specifically, it will reveal something about Batman. First up,
Yeah, that works. I think that works really well as well as a concept for what the motivation for Hugo Strange is on this film. Having these villains that especially when you have like Hugo Strange being this smart, you want to understand which villains to use. I'm impressed, Nando. This is actually really good. I'm proud of you.
Yeah. It's not a bad pitch.
Yeah,
Killer Croc, Waylon Jennings, man with
Killer Croc is an interesting one.
Again, a bit.
A bit too fantastical for me.
Yeah, and even then, like the whole thing of Killer Croc isn't that he's an experiment. It's just that he has a bad skin condition and that he's treated like a monster, so he turns into one.
I mean, obviously, you could change that for an adaptation.
Like you can change it, but just like I'm sure it works for this pitch or something.
Yeah.
with the skin. Also now is a huge.
God damn it! Stop skipping ahead. Watch together, you fucking cringe lords.
It will reveal something about Batman. First up, Killer Croc. Waylon Jennings, man with the skin condition, but also now is a huge monster man.
Let's see, he even said it's the skin condition, so yeah.
Thanks to experiments or genetics.
I see. So he has the skin condition, and Hugo Strange caused him to become a huge monster. So it's working with I guess both origins for him.
Yeah, that's fair.
Clear. Croc and Batman are both urban legends who live in darkness. Croc because he was cast out by society for looking different, and Batman maybe for the same reasons. He believes he has the same ugliness in his mind, and because of that...
That could be an interesting thing, that he thinks he's so, like, broken inside that he kind of isolates himself, and he thinks it's, like, society isolating him, and you kind of see that reflected in Killer Croc. That could be neat. Oh, also the Garfield film was delayed.
No.
Oh.
May
point in being
24th,
alarming?
2024. Well, to wait for the Garfield, starring Chris Pratt and Samuel Jackson in May 24th, 2024. That's the point of being alive. IMO.
It's too long.
Did Jab fall asleep yet? I don't know. Jab, are you awake?
I'm here. I don't understand why people think I fall asleep. I just went no.
You're not sitting much, to be honest, so I don't blame them.
Well, yeah,
Because this
you're
is
more
the
silent
good-
than normal, yeah.
yeah. Well, it's kind of like he's basically saying what I already said like an hour ago, but a bit better.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, true.
cannot really fit in as Bruce Wayne. Fight-wise, we should get a fun Arkham Asylum style scene.
I love that fucking bit in Arkham Asylum. It is very simple fucking gameplay, but I remember the first couple of times I played it, it is just so scary because you don't understand like the moveset and everything and how, when it's going to show up, the aesthetic of just like having the sewer sounds with no music, and then it's boom, he fucking comes after you, or it's fucking this high action music and gotta run away. It's really well staged level. I like it.
In the sewer, where Croc is swimming just under the water and stalking Batman, and when Batman stops Croc, he realizes that Croc was also suffering from some delusions and memory loss, so part of why he was giving Batman such a hard time had to do with the fact that he didn't really know what was going on. The second escaped patient I want is one I was not originally super familiar with, who calls herself White Rabbit. She is a woman with the ability to create a single clone of herself.
That feels like way too much again. I am not sure.
That's quite a jump.
You know,
It's kind of like, I get what he's doing here, but I think it's going way too far in the fantastical realm.
again, like, it's why I feel like Mr. Freeze would be like the best sort of dip into the fantastical side, because bringing so much of the fantastical metahuman stuff is just a bit too much for the second movie. Like, I feel like this would be like stuff for maybe like beyond the third movie or something.
Yeah, because
like, if they
he
do
even
that.
he even described it in the fucking earlier in the video of being like, Mr. Freeze is a good way to introduce these like metahumans because you know his abilities are tied to like some science shit and it's just like stretched just a bit and not much. So he doesn't feel like
doing
that.
all this,
far.
doing people like Killer Croc, Man Bat, and now this cloning one, all in the second movie feels like it feels like too much too soon.
Yeah. I want White Rabbit if they adapt that comic costume 1-to-1. Oh, Madvocate. Oh, silly Madvocate.
Outside of that, she's not a
Oh
big
my Christ, yeah, Madvocate, I am. Yeah.
player in the comics. She dresses like a Playboy bunny, which we can probably ignore here, and that means we get to give her a backstory that's new for this movie. So let's say her background is that she's a former geneticist who was working on cloning technology, was accidentally exposed to something that gave her the ability to duplicate herself. I love White Rabbit.
See, I think that's fine, but again,
too,
I
like,
don't.
too soon.
Yeah, I don't want
Like-
that. I think
like,
it's too much.
Can you really imagine like watching the first one, imagining like there's cloning techs being developed in that world
Yeah,
that early? Like it feels too
it feels too far.
too out there and too soon.
Yeah, I don't know.
Rabbit here because her superpower is essentially creating a second personality, and perhaps Strange theorizes that Batman
I mean, if you could, I guess, make it different that she has like by trying to do that, she ended up developing because of like it was because of some trauma and that ends up developing like a dissociative identity disorder or something like that. I think that could work better. Not have like both, don't have both identities be like so wildly different as we were mentioning earlier. Just have them be like different facets of her personality. Kind of like Mr. Robot does, where each of them are like a different type of foe for Batman, but it's the same person. It's not a clone. I think that would work better. Like, as in, you're adapting the idea of having a clone without actually exploring, like, without actually creating a clone, and going too far in the realm of like fantasy, sci-fi shit. I think that could work better.
Bruce are multiple distinct personalities, like a Mark Spector Stephen Grant situation. So Strange sets Batman against...
Oh, yeah, he's saying, he thought the same idea, just, I guess he went too far for me of, like, creating an actual clone.
White Rabbit is a way to see if Batman empathizes with her. The actual confrontation can be kind of anywhere. It's always nice to have a fun Hall of Mirrors fight, have Batman stumbling through a series of warped reflections. It's on the nose, but that's Batman after all. And then the third escaped patient would be another recent addition to Batman's rogues gallery, a scientist named Lonzo Valentine, who goes by the alias Professor Pig.
Hey, someone mentioned that in chat, so hey, if you mentioned that in chat, let's hear what Nando has to say. Probably curious.
He is perfect for this kind of story.
Is that yeah.
Okay, thanks, Jeff.
Oh, what?
Is that yeah. Man, that was
Is that?
yeah. Oh, thanks, Jeb. Now we understand everything. Your thought process there. God damn. Fuck's sake. Are you gonna explain what your thought process is, or are you just gonna leave it at that?
Are you Hugo Strange?
Fuck you, Jeb.
Is a schizophrenic scientist who believes that people are imperfect and need to be constantly improved. The name Pig, P-Y-G, comes from the mythological figure Pygmalion, a sculptor who sees everyone as imperfect and unable to find a lover who can meet his impossibly high standards. Pygmalion sculpts a marble statue of a woman who is so perfect that Pygmalion falls in love with the statue. And after some intervention from a goddess, the statue comes to life, and she and Pygmalion live happily ever after.
Yeah, he's explaining the comic origin, I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure he doesn't want to actually do this in live action. I think he's just explaining the comic origin.
Professor Pig usually works
I'm
like
just
your typical...
bizarre by the fucking like origin to the origin.
I mean, it was fine. The goddess is what kind of made me like, oh, okay, this is, DC Comics. It's just how it is, I guess.
The god's just so, he wants to bang.
He wants to bang. Let's give him.
Yeah.
He kidnaps people, frequently women, and performs plastic surgery on his victims. This usually results in the victims being lobotomized or brainwashed and turns them into Pig's henchmen known as Dollatrons, or just dolls. Pig and Batman share an obsessive perfectionism. Bruce, the victim of a childhood tragedy, believes it is his responsibility to purify Gotham by patrolling the streets as the Batman and stopping crime. It is an unachievable goal, like finding or creating the perfect person, and sometimes drives Bruce to what some people would see as madness.
Yeah, okay. That's a cool concept to explore. I just realized the fucking comic panel, a metaphor, a myth, a story. It's the most on-the-nose thing I've ever read in my life. But, I kind of, I can see where Nando's coming from with using Dr. Pig or Professor Pig, whatever it's called, for this case of showing like the obsession of wanting to clean the streets. It's kind of the same way of like the way he obsesses with wanting to find the perfect person because he believes people should always like be better. It is an interesting aspect to show that compulsion and obsessiveness. Yeah, I like that.
Yo, it's a pig.
It is a pig with a Y.
Strange's assessment of Bruce, and forcing Bruce to confront Pig shows him what he can become if he loses himself to the Batman. The fight can take place in an abandoned hospital. Pig captures a victim or two, begins working on him. Bruce tracks down Pig and stops him. And
I think with the ideas he's having for this film, it seems like it could lean very hard on like the horror aspects, which I think could be cool.
Yeah, it'd be a good sort of like motif for this sort of trilogy or like one of the series is that it's very horror based.
No.
It's very sort of serial killers, very sort of grounded, but very sort of maniacal villains who like can do like body horror or like just serial or like just general horror.
Yeah, not
Interesting.
not horror in the stuff of like having jump scares, having supernatural things, are more like, you know, with the psychological horror and body horror. I think could be neat, as you said. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And all throughout these missions, Bruce is being called by Strange, who talks Bruce through his assessment.
Fucking Arkham City, you know, just like, hey, talking true. Or not Arkham City, Arkham Asylum with Joker always checking in on Batman.
It's like an evil live therapy session. And Bruce realizes that all these interactions between Batman and the escaped prisoners are being recorded by Strange, which means Strange knew the patients would end up in those locations. And Bruce can tell.
Okay, wait, there was like a few frames or something weird there. I just wanted to rewind just to see.
Bruce is being called by Strange,
Editing problem.
who talks Bruce through his assessment. It's like an evil live therapy session. And Bruce realizes that all these interactions between Batman and the escaped prisoners are being recorded by Strange, which means Strange knew the patients would end up in those locations. And Bruce
I think he fucking skipped the frame when he was editing
I
there.
saw it as well, so it's like a frame.
Yeah, I've done that a few times as well, Nando. Don't worry, it happens. That one extra frame or one frame missing because they didn't properly, glue together on Premiere Pro. It annoys me too.
Bruce can tell from the files Strange gave him that in their sessions, Strange was manipulating each patient and subconsciously directing them to those locations. And that's something that I think is really important. While these escaped patients are obviously dangerous, Strange is the real villain. I feel like we maybe got a little too comfortable in most comic media, but especially in the case of Batman, with demonizing characters suffering from all kinds of mental illness. It's a meme at this point. Billionaire dresses up like a bat to beat up mentally ill.
Yeah, but it's with Joker, it's a bit different than just with the Dark Knight and Batman Begins. He's not just beating up the mentally ill, but yes, I get the idea. Probably be good for him to actually use an example as opposed to having this joke here, but whatever.
Clowns. Like,
shut up, Jeff.
Look at Riddler, Scarecrow, obviously Joker, Two-Face, Mad Hatter. It's like half of them. And I'm not saying all Professor Pig needs is a hug, but I think it's important here to stress that the patients are not the problem. The problem is Arkham. And
well, you could do both because they are in Arkham for a reason because it's a home for the criminally insane, right? So I think you could do both, where it's they are dangerous, but obviously they were manipulated a lot by Hugo, and that caused them to go even further than they would. You could maybe have one of the three villains that he mentioned being like not that bad of a person, and then the film kind of, I guess, it shows that how like Hugo made them do all these things and they didn't want to. We kind of polarized them, I guess.
To a larger extent, the healthcare system that has failed them, represented in this instance by Strange. They are treated as guinea pigs to be experimented on when they're valuable and discarded when they're not. And I would love that to be the big lesson Bruce learns throughout the movie after interacting with Croc, Rabbit, Pig, and even Man-Bat. Strange uses all of them and has made everything worse. And Batman wonders what Strange gets out of this. Why these three? And why is he so obsessed with Batman? And that is your end of Act 2 reveal. Hugo Strange is not just messing with these patients for fun. 3 of the 4 are former doctors and scientists with specializations in biology and genetics.
Oh, that's a cool twist. I hadn't noticed that pattern. Okay, I'm following, Nando. Let's see.
And Croc is a man with a skin condition who was mutated into a giant crocodile monster. We can check back with Harvey, who has been researching Strange at the hospital and is now kidnapped by Strange and held in an Arkham cell. Strange tells Batman that he recently met with a friend who isn't feeling well and Batman should come take a look.
Oh, okay. I like this idea. And it is in line with what I said about turning Dan to Two-Face at the end of the second film. Okay. Thanks, Chap. Yeah, I like this actually, because it is tying in this story with this Hugo story with actually like turning him into Two-Face, but it doesn't seem like it's forced. It seems like it's because Hugo just has like that much knowledge about Bruce and Batman, and he's exploiting it all to manipulate Batman's psyche to, I guess, get Batman to admit something that they both kind of want to know. Feels very Jokerish, but more, but in the Dark Knight, but in a much more properly developed way, I think.
Yeah. Like in a very much more logical way.
Yeah, which makes sense, especially when it's Hugo Strange, whose entire thing is being really smart. So
Harvey is in danger of being mutilated by Strange, but we still haven't answered the big question. What does Hugo Strange want? What's his deal? Well, he wants control, wants to be able to run Arkham the way he sees fit. Strange is using the asylum to conduct experiments. Strange wants to study the limits of humanity, what separates us from monsters, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde stuff. Part of that research involves using experimental biology and genetics and all kinds of stuff to see if he can turn people into monsters. Bruce reforming Arkham makes this difficult, so Strange is trying to get Bruce out of the way. But why not just kill Bruce? Strange seems to be able to, especially since he knows that Bruce is the Batman. And that is Strange's weakness. At the same time, Strange hates Bruce Wayne, but Strange is fascinated by Batman. Strange needs to see the Batman in action.
that's a cool idea. Yeah, this picture feels very Jokerish, but I can see the distinction between this and a Joker. Like, I can see how it is Hugo Strange and how it is like extremely logical, and how Hugo Strange would even understand his own like inner conflict of wanting something but also wanting another thing that is contradictory to it, hating Bruce Wayne but loving Batman, which is in the same vein as what Riddler did, but instead of like looking up to it, it's just more of a fascination rather than like modeling yourself after the Batman, which is really cool, I think, as well, to go off of the first film, because it is kind of going further into what the impact Batman has had on Gotham is. So I like this.
A man who has somehow managed to sit on the razor's edge between being a man and being a monster, and Strange wants to figure out how, what trauma or experiences set him on this path. So Strange devises a plan to both psychoanalyze Batman and get him killed. And if Strange's patients don't kill Batman, then Strange will. And that's your finale. Bruce goes to Arkham, saves Harvey, and defeats Strange. Perhaps Strange has some mutated henchmen that Strange can use to fight Batman, and Batman beats them by using
Probably be good to have what I said about like the using it as like adrenaline and shit, like that cause them to be a bit stronger, but not actually like superhuman, like huge Titan monsters. But you also have like Hugo having planted like traps, not fucking like Riddler type shit, but more so that like he has had contingency plans for it. Because he obviously can't take Batman on like a fist to fist fight, especially if it is Giancarlo Esposito. So it's probably how you would do it, that final confrontation.
Yeah.
some chemical
That's
against
probably it, yeah.
Oh shit. Warner Brothers developing a sequel to Constantine 17 years after the original film's release. Keanu Reeves
what?
will reprise the titular role, with Francis Lawrence also returning to direct. From Discussing Film,
What?
the official page, yeah.
What?
Yeah, what the fuck?
What?
I don't know how I feel about this.
So is this the Constantine film they've been teasing for years? I fucking what? I'm so confused. Like,
Oh, shocker! J.J. Abrams is gonna produce.
oh, so that fucking explains it.
Well, yeah, he produces every fucking legacy sequel or fucking reboot, so it's expected at this.
He's also doing a Superman film over at DC at the same time. So,
Stop insulting JJ Abrams.
Oh, sorry, Jeb. We know you're a big fan.
Yeah.
Here is a resurrect. It's fucking stupid from Deadline. Here's a resurrection of a DC character worth getting excited over. Well, this character has had many interpretations since. It's not resurrecting.
I mean, fucking, we just had a Constantine in the Sandman.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
technically it's a different character because of like legal stuff, but like, it's still like supposedly was like the same character, just gender bent.
Yeah, and
Like-
also I would much prefer a spin-off of that Constantine
Yeah, like-
than this John
Like,
Constantine.
so many people were asking for a Joanna Constantine spin-off.
Yeah.
And instead they bring back the failed Constantine adaptation from like 17 years ago.
Yeah, that no one likes. I've not seen anyone like that. If you're gonna do something, kind of fucking. I guess you can't do that because he was in Legends of Tomorrow, but with Matt Ryan, right, people love him as for that
Yeah,
casting.
like pretty much everyone says he's like the best. Like he is John Constantine every version. He's a version in the DC animated stuff. He's the version in Harley Quinn apparently.
Yeah, he was in Harley
So,
Quinn.
like he is the best Constantine casting you can get. So just do a movie with him.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, because he was in Legends of Tomorrow, I don't think you could continue that story because obviously he went through a lot after that one season of the TV show. But if you could reboot a show and have him be John Constantine, I guess I wonder if people would kind of be upset that they lost the entirety of what Matt Ryan's Constantine went through in the CW shows, maybe, because he did go through a lot in terms of like character arc. So I don't know how you could do it properly, but I think that's trying to figure that out is way better than doing the Keanu Reeves one.
Yeah, because like, guarantee you, only reason they're doing this is because Keanu Reeves is popular now.
Yeah.
Guarantee you.
Well, we'll see. Might be fun. Who knows?
Him that he only now realizes are what Langstrom's last words were before he died. I haven't figured out what those are yet, but something. Strange dies,
Something.
Arkham saved, Bruce successfully reforms Arkham because
I think it's such an important, like, pivotal thing that you could, like, actually have thought of more before, because it seems to be, like, an important character beat for him in the third act, but whatever.
again, I think one of the problems with a movie like this is I don't want to like demonize therapy or psychiatry as a profession, and we can
No, you want to demonize the people who exploit it, such as Hugo Strange, which I think was done well. I don't think you need to add anything to the story to like demonize. But I guess if you had like at the end Bruce being like, oh, Hugo Strange has been arrested and we're gonna reinstate Arkham, and we're gonna have this new like head psychiatrist who's been vetted by a bunch of people, like to actually see that psychiatry isn't the problem. I think that could just be a nice way to end it. Like I guess, put a cap on it. I guess.
We can tie this whole thing up in a bow by giving Bruce another press conference where he talks about the value of Arkham, the value of believing in reforming these
Yeah, so it's the exact idea just came up with. Nice, Nando. We're in sync here. We're in sync.
people and helping these people. Bruce gives a speech in front of Arkham, says, Hugo Strange was a dangerous man. He exploited the people in this asylum that needed help the most. This movie is about Bruce figuring out what this new Batman is without vengeance. Is it hope? Is it justice? Is it compassion? Can he break the cycle of Arkham churning out villains? Can Bruce fix his family's biggest mistake so he can move on and start his own Bat family?
Yeah, I think that's good. What he's saying here is really good. Is like there is a lot you can do with Batman with that concept, like for his character, and explore who he is and how he fits into this Gotham after like stopping his search for vengeance. Like as he's pointing out, like there's a lot you could do. It's like, oh, it's his family's biggest biggest mistake. Like, can he fix that? It's like he's still haunted by his past and shit like that. To a point where he always looked up to his parents, but obviously there's like the underlying hidden things that were teased in the first film.
And yeah, this would set up The Batman 3 with Two-Face and Robin. So in conclusion, Warner Brothers executive,
I wouldn't do it with Robin, but yeah, Two-Face.
I think we need to go in a strange direction. Take some of Batman's more fun, monstery villains and use
funny.
them to focus on Batman's relationship with
I
horror
love.
and Arkham. It will make lots of money and also be good. And WB Executive, I know you love these videos. They're fun for you and me, the two people that watch them.
That's true. People that watched it. It's fucking Nando being funny. I can't bear it. He's been funny in this video. When Nando makes a good video, he actually makes a good video. It's kind of impressive.
But I want to share a super
Thanks for that.
Well, but yeah, remember we covered him makes bad videos. It's like it's not like, oh, I agree with this point. It's like he just says dumb shit, but he makes good videos. It's like, oh, it's actually like really well put together. Like his fucking Chain video, the one musical scene one was really good as well.
It's just the way you say it. When he makes good videos, he makes good videos. I was like,
He does.
yeah.
Am I?
That's how
I'm
it
not
works.
wrong. I'm not wrong though. I'm categorically correct.
and only you. I don't make all this fancy B-roll footage and music and flashy graphics myself. I use this video sponsor, Storyblocks.
Oh, okay. So that was an ad read. Okay. Is he gonna say anything else? Let me skip the ad read. I know people have to do ad reads. I don't have a problem with this. I'm just saying.
Cool videos. So
I
if this
do.
were somehow to end up on
Yeah,
YouTube,
but-
which it definitely shouldn't, thank you everybody.
Yeah, that's just thinking. All right. Well, that was the video. That was actually really good, Nando. I'm proud of you.
I am impressed.
Yeah, that was quite a good pitch, and I think it was a very good way for us to talk about what we want to see from the sequel to the Batman. Not just the first sequel, but like the franchise as a whole as it moves forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite proud of what we did today. I think it was very productive. I think Tin said more than 2 sentences, which is more than usual. So,
Yeah.
but
Well,
yeah, no, this is actually a really cool idea. If you were to do, if Matt Reeves were to do a Hugo Strange, I think an idea like this could work really well. And I am kind of like now thinking Hugo Strange for a second film could do really, really well. Because we threw out a few ideas of, oh, maybe like I said, with the Hugo Strange and Two-Face in the third film, and because you set up Two-Face in the second, and you Scarecrow, it's also another idea you could do. But if you were to do this, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I think this is actually pretty well thought out of like the thematic and emotional journey of Batman in this film.
But one sort of issue I have is it uses so many fantastical villains all at once, and like, I get the thematic reason behind it, but just, and it still feels like a too big of a leap from the first film to the second film to have so many at once. Like,
well, I think if you do it instead of like, as I said, the clone, you do it like the ID as opposed to actually being a clone. I think that could already like fix the issue of that character being like too fantastical. With Killer Croc, it's like he has the skin disease, and then Hugo Strange makes him like a big croc monster, but you don't make him like fucking Arkham type, like in the Arkham games type, that he's huge. Make him like more in line with Suicide Squad, not in that design, but like just being like more of a regular human that's a bit like large and strong, and he has like the scaly bits and whatnot, and with obviously a better design and makeup because that one was awful. But anyway, and
that's
with
fair, I guess.
what was the other one? Oh yeah, Pig. Professor Pig, I think, is just a perfect choice for this.
yeah, like, he'd be
Obviously
perfect for
ignoring
this
the
series, to be
goddess. Obviously ignoring the goddess giving his statue life, because I that's just a tad far to me. But other than
I
that,
don't think that's part of his actual origin. I think that's the origin behind the name, like the the myth behind it.
oh, okay. Then yeah, that's fine.
Like
Yeah.
it's like how it relates to his story and how like it's like a Greek myth. I don't think it was literally what happens with his story.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense. But yeah, no, okay, yeah. I'm kind of happy with this. Had not watched this video before. Neb just gave me the idea to watch it and be kind of like judge his pitch as like an actual film. And I think it's kind of a neat idea to judge what we would want and what he's thinking of doing and how it would, I guess, work within the universe that we have established. I would only say just like try to scale down the supernatural things. I think Man-Bat as
Yeah,
well as I
'cause-
think maybe a bit too far as well. But other than that,
Yeah, because like again, it is like an ongoing discussion with the whole fantastical thing. Because like I think Matt Reeves has said like he wants to keep it somewhat grounded, but have fantastical stuff in it. So like it's a bit of a debate of do you want the fantastical stuff or do you want it mostly grounded villains and such. So like.
I guess
It's
if
a
you do
odd thing
Man-Bat in
how
a
you-
sense where it's like he isn't like the huge Man-Bat we see from the Arkham games as well, that is like, very fantastical. If you do it more that like he, like I guess you could do more body horror where he still remain like he just gets a bit larger and he like fucking feather and wings and shit like that. Like he develops those, but it still seems like it's a human being there. And when he returns back to his human form, his skin is all deformed, as he said, that his body hasn't taken much of the transformations. I think that could work better than just being like full on Man-Bat.
Yeah, like, because, like, the way I would do it, at least for, like, the fantastical stuff, is I make it more like a gradual sort of
Oh yeah,
journey for the series, where, like,
which is why we always say
Like-
Mr. Freeze, because he's a good
Mr. Freeze
first
for the
step
second film
gradual.
would be, like, the optimal idea, but I wouldn't be opposed to have this sort of idea for a film happen, like, maybe after, like, maybe as like the third film or the fourth film or something. 'cause,
Yeah,
like,
if you were to do it a third or fourth, you already have established, and you've already established the more fantastical stuff, then it doesn't feel as out of
yeah,
place.
I feel like most of this would work better later in the series, but if it's toned down or something, then it could work as a second film. But
I
and
guess
it could,
I guess I wouldn't do Man Bat. I think that's the one thing
yeah,
that
like
this pitch I would change
yeah,
is
like
not use Man Bat because he's too much for me.
yeah, like because especially using him only once and killing him off, that feels like such a waste. To be honest, like have him as like the whole thing of Scarecrow, so like, have him be like the sort of a challenge to like Bruce's fear of the bat taking over. Like that could be a movie in and of itself.
Uh-huh.
Like instead of as like a one-off character.
Yeah, I guess you need to look at the Rogues Gallery, look at someone that's more disposable, but that still could fit with the Hugo Strange, I guess experimenting on them motif. Just see if you can find someone that would fit better than Man Bat.
Yeah, like don't get some of the bigger players and then like waste them in one movie and then kill them off. Like I feel like that's what the Arkham series should do, where like if they make that like an ongoing series, which I doubt they would, but if they do, that could be a good place to have like to just keep the villains in the world and see what they're doing in between films. Like that'd be
Uh-huh.
a good spot for them. Like you see like a maybe you see like say like Poison Ivy show up or something, or like Scarecrow and such. Like that'd be a good spot for them. But
Hmm.
yeah, not a bad pitch, to be honest. I would obviously change a few things, but not too bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of. Yeah, really impressed with this video. I But yeah, I think that's all we have for today, folks. Is there anything anyone would like to say before we leave? Jebzod, you've said a lot.
Quiz.
Quiz, I agree. Quiz. And you, Jeb, do you have anything to say? Probably the blacks is my guess. Did Jeb fall asleep? He might have. So yeah, I think that's a perfect place to end. Oh, okay.
My
Hey,
mic was off.
hey, Jeb. Do you have anything you want to say before we leave?
I am actually impressed. It's actually a pitch I want to see. I didn't think I'd say that from a Nando pitch. And I feel like we're into a pattern with these type of video essays. Whilst they can't do what I think we do, which is break down mechanical elements, they could come up with ideas that seem interesting and that could be expanded on.
Yeah, I think it's like they a lot of these really understand like the thematic value of it. It's just like mechanically you kind of need to I guess to understand more the consistency. It takes a bit more from them, which is why I think that sometimes you have someone like Nando being like, "Oh, I love She-Hulk and Shang-Chi," but they still clearly understand like how the Batman works and why it works and how you can move forward from that. So it is an interesting balance. And yeah, it may seem like we were like kind of making fun of Nando throughout this video, me especially, but I don't really have anything against him. I think he's a pretty neat guy. I don't have anything against him. It's just he can make some bad videos half the time. So, but yeah, he's neat. He's added 2 of my videos to his playlist. 2? 3 of my videos to his playlist. I just remembered, yeah, because I had the one excellent scene from Legion, the one villainous scene from Daredevil, and the one musical scene from Better Call Saul. So yeah. So yeah, I think that's all we got for today, folks. We will catch you all next time when we watch Shang-Chi live on stream and we don't get taken down for copyright because we are friends with Daniel Cretton. So yeah, goodbye, folks.
What? What?
Bye.